Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start off with prayer and a flag salute. Miss Emmeline, would you be so good as to give us a good prayer this morning, please, ma'am?
I sure will.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Father, we come before you this morning with an open heart and an humble mind, God. Father, we ask you, God, to take control, total control of this meeting. Father, we ask that you lead and guide the commissioners, God, that they would do what's right by your people. Father, we pray and we forever give you glory, honor, and praises. And we bind every spirit and every demonic force, God, that's not like you. We bind it in Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. Amen, Amen again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, Miss Deb, we got some proclamations, and we have a group back there that really lightens up our room. If we could get them to come up and...
Yes, sir. And Ms. Meritus Quinto, who's the Director of Southeast Regional Director on behalf of Florida Nurses Association, and also Ms. Dorothy Watson, who's the Chief Nursing Officer on behalf of HCA Florida Rollerson Hospital. Good morning. So this proclamation is for Florida Nurses Association Nurses Week. Whereas registered nurses in the United States constitute our nation's largest healthcare profession, and the American Nurses Association, as the voice for registered nurses in this country, is working to chart a new course for a healthy nation that relies on increasing access to primary and preventive health care and better utilization of all of our nation's registered nursing resources. And professional nursing is an indispensable component of the safety and quality of care of hospitalized and non-hospitalized patients, and the demand for qualified registered nurses will be greater than ever due to the aging of the American population, emerging health challenges, the continuing expansion of life-sustaining technologies, and the explosive growth of home health care services. And whereas, along with the American Nurses Association, the Florida Nurses Association has declared May 6th through the 12th as Nurses Week, honoring the contributions and sacrifices of nurses in the healthcare industry. This year's theme is Care, Lead, Inspire, Repeat, with appreciation for nurses' contributions to healthcare and for enriching the lives of their patients and the world we live in. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Okeechobee County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim the week of May 6th to May 12th as Nurses Week in Okeechobee County, and ask that all residents join in honoring the registered nurses who care for us all.
Can I get a motion to accept the proclamation as read?
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner DeCarlo, second by Commissioner Goodbread. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. It's wonderful that we have an institution like the Rollerson Hospital that when we have a problem, I've been there numerous times, and you always take so great care of us. You know. I missed that.
Oh, yeah, so we have a common theme that we do not say good because we are great. So I was just happy that you said great and not good.
Okay, I did something right today. That's the first. So, but anyhow, we expect a speech.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So thank you. We as nurses are honored to be nurses, first of all, but more importantly, we're honored to be able to be in this community and to take care of our community each and every day and night. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause, please.
Hey, good morning.
He's talked to you.
Just the revisions to the agenda and then the consent.
Trouble with the Wi-Fi. Well, It was just slow.
Okay, Ms. Deb, any revisions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I do actually have one revision. I'd like to add under county attorney comments, Resolution 2025-19, which you all have at your spot.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda with this addition?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burrows, second by Commissioner Sumner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Deb, would you want to go through the consent agenda, please?
Yes, sir. And this is under the agenda 4.1a is minutes for the April 10th, 2025 regular session. Item B, minutes from the April 3rd, 2025 special meeting. Item C, warrants in the amount of $6,637,971.20. Item D, independent contractors agreement with Life Extension Clinics Incorporated for the annual medical physicals for fire rescue, and with an initial 1-year term and 3-year additional 1-year extensions. Item E, renewal 1 of 2 of the independent contractors agreement between the county and Advanced Data Solutions. And this is for a 1-year term to provide professional services in archiving records for our county departments into digital formatting. Item F, adopt resolution 25-18, amending the fiscal year 25 budget to appropriate grant revenues and improve a budget amendment 25-21. This is for the build-out scenario and rural character analysis, and the amount is $75,000. It was 100% grant. Item G is resolution 25-17, establishing the consumer price index adjustment increase of 2.4% beginning April 25th for maximum rates for recovery, towing, removal, and storage of vehicles. Item H is a support letter from the county to Indian River State College for a funding request to establish the Ballistics Innovation and Testing Center. Item I is another. Yes, sir.
If they give us an indication that any of these might be located in the Okeechobee area, maybe on the
I did not see that, but I will find out. Okay.
We certainly want to invite them.
Okay. Let me find out for you. Item I is another support letter from the county to Indian River State College for an expansion of the Veterans Services Center at their college. And item J is rescheduling a public hearing to May 8th, 2025, which was rescheduled from this meeting to amend the Okeechobee County Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Rules of Decorum and Civility. And the last item under the consent agenda is K, which is rescheduling another public hearing to May 8th, which was scheduled for today, and that was for an adoption for ordinance authorizing trespass from county facilities.
Okay. Any questions, comments on the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Goodbridge, second by Commissioner Burrows to accept the consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Matt, you have some visitors with you this morning that would like to come up and have a request to use the facility. Yes, sir. Ms. Shirley, I want to come on up, please.
I have Ms. Shirlene Graham here on the behalf of the Ladies of Elegance in Okeechobee County. She's requesting a fee waiver for Douglas Brown for her MLK banquet January 17th, 18th, and 19th. I have her here, and she'll explain further.
Okay, Ms. Shirley.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I hope everyone is doing well.
Thank you.
And had a good Easter and everything. But as you know, my name is Shirlene Graham Stevens. My husband get kind of upset when I don't put Stevens on there. So my name Shirlene Graham Stevens. And as he said before, I'm requesting the dates for the MLK event. It's something that we have been doing for the last 20 years, and would hope that you grant that request.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Goodbread, second by Commissioner Burrows to approve the request to use the facility. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shirley, while you're there, you want to talk about your Sunday event?
Oh, great. Yes. First Missionary Baptist Church of Dean's Court, under the leadership of Reverend Leroy B. Smith, we're having our annual Day of Togetherness, and everybody in this courtroom, everybody, you're invited to come to our event that is at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. We're going to have food afterwards, and if you like some good food, we got good food. So hopefully, if any of you can and will, we would greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do for the community.
Thank you.
Matt, you have another one also?
We have another one.
Okay.
All right. Miss Kizzy Boswell, come on up. All right, I have Ms. Boswell here. She's requesting a fee waiver for the use of Douglas Brown Community Center on December 13th to host her Toys for Joys toy giveaway, 8 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. I'll let her explain.
Okay, hello. My name is Kizzy Boswell, and this will actually be our fourth Toys for Joy toy drive. Last year we saw over 325 kids. We gave away approximately 3 toys apiece, but this year we plan on doing a bigger event. We're going to block that parking lot off, and we're going to have like little stations for the kids to interact with, and it's totally free to the kids in the community, and that's Okeechobee community. As long as they're a child under the age of 18, they invited, and we have stuff from infants all the way up to teens, and like I said, we plan on doing it bigger this year. So we're just asking for if we could get a fee waiver for the use of the building in the parking lot.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Goodbread, second by Commissioner DeCarlo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for what you do. That's a great community event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else, Matt?
No, sir.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move on to Mr. Royce. We have a public hearing.
Yes, we do. This is a public hearing on a proposed comprehensive plan amendment, petition C-2024-0001. The amendment is for 150 acres on the west side of the various Lazy 7 subdivisions. The property currently is in the rural estate future land use classification. They're wishing to expand the Lazy 7 Rural Activity Center to incorporate this 150 acres. The density for the current designation of rural estate is 1 unit per 5 acres. Adding it to the Lazy 7 Rural Activity Center would make it have a density of 1 unit per 2 acres. So they could go from developing 30 housing sites now to 75, or a difference of 45. The small expansion to the Lazy 7 Rural Activity Center, it's consistent. The amendment is consistent with the area, with the comprehensive plan land development regulations. The planning board conducted a public hearing on the proposed amendment and recommended by a vote of 6-1 that the Board of County Commissioners approve the amendment. Staff also recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve the amendment. If you do approve the amendment, it'll go to the various state and regional reviewing agencies as required for comprehensive plan amendments. Then it'll come back to the Board of County Commissioners for a final public hearing where you will do a final up or down vote on it. So at this stage, after following this public hearing, if you approve it, it goes to the state reviewing agencies.
Okay. So this time we're going to open up the public hearing, and it will be for anyone to comment on this item only. Anyone want to comment that? Miss Jennifer.
Good morning. An awful lot must be hard. Jennifer Busman with New Lines Engineering. We're just here if you have any questions. I think this is an excellent expansion of the Rural Activity Center. So we're looking forward to sending it to the state and getting approval.
Okay.
Right? Have any questions for me?
No questions.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you for coming up.
Sir?
Thank you for coming up.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anyone else?
Motion to close. Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, board is up here. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the petition number C-2024-0001. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to public comment. Mike? Start the clock, please.
Give him a chance to get to the podium. Actually, I'll just hold it because, I'm strong. The one thing about this great country is that people have died for it, for the rights that we have today. I'm holding my grandfather's flag that was in the Marines, and he fought for this country. My great-grandfather, he fought and died. My entire family has been in the military. I unfortunately did not get into the military. I had all the right qualifications except for a bunch of waivers. I had to go through so many waivers, they were just like, hey.
Mike, this is not something this board has anything to do with.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna start on what you do have something to do with.
Okay.
Okay. Just a quick Google search. I was like, does the Board of Commissioners in Okeechobee County cover the sheriff's office? In a quick Google search, found that to be true. So anytime that we come up here talking about David or the sheriff, we have the right to do that. The same thing with your nephew. Your nephew. Is.
You're finished. You're out of order. Please remove him.
What did I do?
Please remove him from the premises.
Come on, guys. What did I do? What did I do?
You're out of order. You're out of order, buddy. The second time. Take them all out. Buddy, you're out of order too. Okay. We've got three more going out. The one in the center, the one by the door, and the one that was over here. They've all been called out of order twice. They go out.
What do you say to me?
Yes.
Well, I got something to say.
You're through?
Sir,
take him out.
Listen, I'm a nurse.
This
nurse is weak.
Take him out.
You are supposed to follow the
take him out.
Listen, nurses code of ethics.
Take him out. You're out. They take them out of the building. Okay. Next, we have Ruby Minton. Second call for Ruby Minton. Okay, we're moving on. We have Scott.
Just learned from the nurses. Great morning, not good morning, great morning. I've also learned that we should never assume that a person knows something. The assumptions are bad. Assuming that you don't know, this is the Holy Bible. Assuming that you don't know, this is the Constitution of the United States, which is ordained by the Holy Bible. I'm taking this route. We're going to talk about bridges, if time permits. We're going to talk about potholes. We're also going to talk about libraries. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to violate. You violated so far 4 of the 5 elements of the First Amendment. With me personally and a lot of these activists.
We'll take this under consideration and give it the amount of time that it needs. What else do you have to say?
What does that mean? I don't understand
what
you're
else
saying.
do you have to say?
Okay.
Something you want to talk about the potholes is your time.
We're going to talk about the potholes, but you just to be clear, you don't want me to talk about the Bible to exercise my freedom of religion. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying right now? I want to make it clear.
Do you want to talk about? You said you want.
I want to talk about.
You're out of order. Do you want to talk about potholes or bridges or not?
I'm going to talk about potholes and bridges, but not on your terms, sir.
This will be the time to do it, or either you can leave.
Leave or have a seat. Are you telling me to leave the building? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me, to leave the building?
Do you want to talk about potholes?
I want to.
You're out of order. Take him out. Take him off the premises, please.
Off the premises?
Yes.
All right, you don't have to touch me. I'm going to do it on my own, okay? All right. I'm going to go.
Yes, sir. You need to go now.
I'm going.
Yes, sir. You need to start walking, please.
Under threat of
Sir,
arrest.
don't stay here. Come on.
You want to rest? Don't touch me, though. Don't touch me. Please don't touch me. I'm going to tell you.
Sir, I'm not going to
Listen,
tell you.
let me tell you this.
All right. If you don't leave, thank you, sir.
Oh, you guys don't. I'm anointed by God. I'm not weak and prophet. I'm telling you. Once you touch me, everything, the whole, everything.
Okay, we have a John.
Good morning. John Felix, Transparency Accountability Coalition, tac-us.org. This is public comment. This is open public comment. I cannot disrupt the meeting during my time to speak. As a matter of fact, you disrupt the meeting when you cut people off during their 3 minutes. Open public comment is supposed to be open, not pigeonholed into specific topics like bridges. Florida Sunshine Law 286.0114. You cannot arbitrarily silence speakers. Broward Coalition versus Broward 2018. You
Sir,
cannot.
do you want to talk about something that we have jurisdiction?
Yes,
over?
you have
You're
jurisdiction.
ready.
Sir, you have jurisdiction.
Cut the mic, please. If you're not going to do that, then we're through.
I am speaking on stuff
We're through.
You have stuff. I'm talking about stuff.
Cut the mic, please. Thank you. Thank you. You're through. Okay.
You're committing a felony if you remove me right now. Colon versus California.
Please take him out.
Bethel versus Fraser Schools cannot restrict loose speech, but does not apply to adults. Ridiculous.
This is America.
You're going to.
America.
Take him out.
Fuck you. You come take me out.
David,
You come take me out.
calm down, Dave.
Take him out of the premises, please.
You come take me out. Fuck you. What's your badge number? What's your fucking badge number? What's your fucking badge number? What's yours? What's yours?
Little girl said.
What's yours? What's yours? You broke it. All your qualified immunities. Fuck you for all I noticed. I'm suing you. Every fucking right. I'm leaving. I was actually talking about stuff the county has control over. David Hasselbeck was out of fucking control.
Two little girls over there. It's horrible. David.
David.
We have a Harvey. Okay, second call for Harvey. Warren Sapp.
The First Amendment's core principle is to protect free and robust discussion of public affairs, hold government officials accountable, and check for abuse of power. Sir, you're the very definition of abuse of power as you sit there in that chair. The good people of Okeechobee pay you a nice salary to sit here for 180 seconds and close your mouth and listen to public comment, and you won't do it. It's amazing to me. Amazing. No discipline, no nothing from you, except just yelling and screaming and kicking people out, and you don't want to hear what they got to say. And then when they get kicked out, you look over here at your attorney and say, is that arrestable? You want to be an officer that bad? Go get a badge. It doesn't take much in Okeechobee to get one, I'm sure, because I've experienced it. And now these people come here and they want to just talk to you about your county and your sheriff, and you want to kick them out. How come? How come I'm not kicked out right now? Because I'm not talking about no potholes and no damn bridges.
Sir?
Yeah, it is. There it is. There you go.
There'll be no
There
more
you go.
profanity.
There you
There'll be
go.
no more
There you go.
profanity.
There you go. Which one? Freaking or dump? Which one? Which one? Which one? I didn't think so. My man tried to help you out with Cohen versus California, and your reply was, we're in Okeechobee,
Sir,
Florida.
we have no jurisdiction
The Supreme
over
Court
California.
does not have
You're out of order.
jurisdiction over here?
You're out of order.
The
You're
Supreme-
through. Cut the mic. You're through. See ya. But please take him out of the room. Take him out of the building, please. Yes. Okay, John Starnes.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm just here to talk about fire department here in Okeechobee.
Okay. Do you want to talk into the mic, please?
Not really, but I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a fire in a hay trailer of 1990s, and it burnt down, on the side of the road, 2 hours. And the fire department here was called, but they never showed up. And St. Lucie was at a house fire. So the trailer just sat there and burnt for 2 hours on the side of the road. State troopers asking, where's the fire truck? I said, that's what I'd like to know. Well, about 3 years ago, I had a barn catch on fire, which was separated in 3 different sections. And I didn't call the fire department. My neighbors did. I was out moving stuff around from one end of the barn, and all of a sudden I seen the fire jump up and head across the open stall into my enclosed part of the barn. About that time, fire truck pulls up, and And one of the firemen later asked to come up and ask me, is there power on that barn? I said, no, it's been off. And about that time, a guy came around the corner of the house and said he pulled the meter. Well, it cut my well water off. I had 2 burned off hoses in the barn that was keeping that fire from spreading. Anyway, I didn't know who that was. I thought it might have been Florida Power and Light. Well, I went to the fire department. I asked them about it. They said, why do you want to know? I said, well, because I just want to know who it was. And they never would tell me. So I got a fire report and read it. And I'm not stupid. I built my own house when I was 30 years old. And the first guy there, guess who it was? Justin Hazeleaf. And I heard him 5 feet away tell another fireman, just ask me about the power, that he pulled the meter. So when later on, he denied that, said he didn't pull the meter. Well, I still got a broke seal on my meter can 3 years later. And he's a lying bastard. That's all I got to say.
Miss Leah, could we, before we do that, what are we going to do? They're supposed to be removed from the building, and we still hear a lot of commotion. Can we get them taken out of the building, please? Thank you. I just didn't wait, Miss Leah. It's embarrassing, and it's surely embarrassing when we have young ladies sitting over here. Can we wait till they clear it out there, please? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, all.
Morning, Miss Leah.
So first, I just wanted to call out and thank you specifically and Mr. Goodbread and Frank. I'm sorry I didn't call you guys, but the other day we received a donation from Walmart, and it required a flat trailer and a forklift and, you know, all the things that we don't have at our village. So I called you guys, and you guys were just so incredibly helpful, and I wanted to publicly thank you for helping us. You know, in 2022, we had a $4.3 million food gap, and that gap has only grown. And so the donation of soil, along with the donation of seeds, will help our families and help us as we teach our families how to grow their own food. So I just really specifically wanted to publicly thank you. The other reason I'm here is because we have an event coming up that I wanted to make sure that you are all, and in your viewing audience, know that they're aware that we're having the event and that they're invited. But it's a Managing Mental Health Matters luncheon on May the 14th, and we, along with Refuse to Sink, a suicide awareness nonprofit out of Lake Placid, are bringing in a speaker, Reggie Ford, and just wanted to read you a little bit. But he's a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and mental wellness advocate dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations to embrace resilience, emotional intelligence, and mental well-being. And as an author of Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction and a dynamic keynote speaker, Reggie uses his captivating personal journey to inspire audience to turn pain into purpose. And so I wanted to make sure that you all were aware and that the county was aware that this is, you know, coming to our community. I think it's a great opportunity for us to open the doors to conversation about mental health in Okeechobee during Mental Health Month.
Ms. Leah, what was the time on that one?
It is from 11:30 to 1 at the County Civic Center on 98.
Okay.
So, and then lastly, on May the 3rd, we want to personally invite you as well to our village. We are going to be serving street tacos and just having a little bit of fun reminiscing about our 10th anniversary in Okeechobee. So we wanted to make sure you knew that you were invited.
And what time is that one?
That's 11:30 also.
On what day?
That is May 3rd, Saturday, May 3rd. There is a $25 charge for that, but you're welcome to come out
And bring 25.
and don't eat street tacos if you so. But thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you for all you do, Miss Leah.
Thank you,
It's
ma'am.
good for our community.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, we've run through our 15-minute time slot, so can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second. The public comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. I'm sorry, we had 15 minutes allotted. We're through. Miss Deb, you want?
I can't speak. I can't come up here and make a records request.
You want to cut the
under
mic,
Florida
please?
Florida Statute 1.
Cut the mic, please. Sir, you're out of order in our meeting. See ya. You're out of order. That's your first.
Who came here to speak, Commissioner? Who came here to speak? I'd like to speak.
We're through. Thank you.
I'd like to make my records request if I could.
You're through. Thank you.
If I don't leave, will I be arrested?
You're through. Take him out, please.
You should be through. She should
You.
explain California versus
Just your first one. That's your second one. That's your second one. Take all three of them out.
You fucking cops in here ought to be embarrassed of your damn selves.
Take all three of them out.
Violate people's rights and go against your damn oath. Every damn one of you are scumbag pieces of shit. You ain't worth the fucking scraping off my fucking boot.
You're out too, buddy.
Yeah, fuck you, you son of a bitch. Why don't you invite me into your office? I won't tell you no. I won't tell you no, you motherfucker.
Isn't that Dusty?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you gotta listen to this.
Take him out of the building, please.
Bad for those two little girls that were sitting over there behind Justin. It's two little girls.
I know.
Sir, we have some time certains, one's at 10:30 and then at 11 o'clock. So if we want to go on to the next item on the agenda, that would be item 7A, which is the preliminary plat approval for Quail Creek Ranches.
Okay. Mr. Royce, you're going to take that one?
Yes, I will. This is petition P-2024-0018, request for preliminary plat approval. The applicant owns 265 acres on the east side of Northeast 40th Avenue, north of 224th Street. Across the street to the west is Pine Creek, and then to the east is Quail Creek. The applicant is desiring to develop 26 lots on the 265 acres with in the agricultural density of 1 unit per 10 acres. The lot sizes would range from a little over 5 acres up to 19 acres. All lots will have access from an internal street system. They will have a homeowners association that will maintain the drainage and street systems. The Site Plan Review Committee has reviewed and approved the construction plan for the subdivision. The Planning Board has also approved the plans and recommends approval.
Just a minute, Mr. Royce. I have no idea what you're saying. They're hoping you'll come out.
Maybe that's the best thing.
Okay, we'll try it again, Mr. Royce.
All right. Yeah, this is petition P-2024-0018, request for preliminary plat approval. The applicant owns 265 acres on the east side of Northeast 48th Avenue, north of Northeast 224th Street. Across the street to the west is Pine Creek, and then adjacent to the east is Quail Creek. The owner wants to develop, again, 26 lots on the 265 acres, consistent with the density of 1 unit per 10 acres in the agriculture future land use classification. Lots would range in size from a little over 5 acres to up to 19 acres. The Site Plan Review Committee has reviewed the plans and the construction plans and recommends approval. The Planning Board also has reviewed the site plan and recommends approval. The street and drainage system will be maintained by the Homeowners Association, and all lots are accessed only by interior subdivision streets. So staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve the preliminary plat. If you do so, then they can construct or bond the subdivision and come back for a final plat when they're ready.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Sumner, second by Commissioner Burrows. Any discussions, questions, comments? Great project. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Did we want to take a few minutes? Is the outside clear now, Rob?
They're all the way out in the building.
Okay, thank you. We're just going to go down the hall. We'll take a few minutes and be right back. And thank you once again for special items for being here, but we schedule at a time certain for 10:30, so please bear with us. There may be people wanting to come see the presentation, so we're going to move on to 14A. Ms. Deb?
Yes, and our Special Projects Manager, Jessica Bezares, will be providing the information for this item.
I would have known that if I could read.
Good morning.
Jessica, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Smiling face.
Always. So for the state of Florida opioid litigation settlement, there's 2 funds that the county is receiving over an 18-year period, one of them being the regional fund, the other one being the city-county fund. This is in relation to the city and county fund. It's dispersed directly to Okeechobee County annually. We typically receive it in December of the fiscal year. This fiscal year, we received it in February. And we're projected to receive approximately $1,493,822.76 over an 18-year period with the city and county fund. To date, for the first 3 years, we've received $344,854.89. And in fiscal year 26, we're expected to receive approximately $92,215.43. The recommendation for the allocation and use is for the jail construction and improvements related to health support and training services to overcome the opioid addiction, as well as any loan payments for the portion of the new Okeechobee County jail expansion project that would support opioid addiction. At this time, we're recommending that the utilization of the city and county funds is to construct or pay the loan portion for the loan for the portion of the new Okeechobee County jail expansion project that would support opioid addiction and provide needed treatment and resources, and to include this funding within the BOCC's proposed budgets over the 18-year period.
Okay. And Ms. Jessica, I see that Mr. Nelson had provided us a good list of things that we're going to be able to justify that this is for the correct use of the opioid settlement?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And we provided that.
Right, I saw that
when
in
we
there.
allocated those funds along with our architect on record. He helped just to give us the justifications in Ajax along with the pricing. So, yes.
Right, and this is part of the facility would be used for this
Yes,
type
sir.
of services?
Yes,
So-
sir.
Okay. Yes,
And
ma'am.
Chair, the board had already discussed this previously and directed staff to utilize these funds, but we didn't have the motion, and so that's why basically it's coming back before you today for the official motion and the action.
And I appreciate that. I just wanted to remind the public that we're using it for the correct uses in the construction. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? Can I get a motion to accept funding?
Second.
$1,493,822.76 over a period of 18 years and apply it towards the jail bonds. We have a motion by Commissioner DeCarlo, second by Commissioner Sumner. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, Ms. Jessica.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Menzo, this one has your name on it.
The next item is an administrative regulation for county attorney communications policy. And this is at the direction of the board to provide a administrative regulation for the communications with the department staff or the departments and staff within the county. This does not have to do with communications between the board and the county attorney. But the county recognizes the increasing complexity of legal matters across departments and the need of clear, consistent communication protocols with the county attorney's office. Policy acknowledges the important oversight roles of the county administrator and assistant county administrators in this, and by clarifying the appropriate pathways for legal consultation, and the county aims to improve internal coordination, promote transparency, and ensure legal services are delivered in a manner that aligns with the county's administrative and governance framework. So within our the proposed administrative regulation, under the policy, the communication protocols, the first one is attorney-client privilege, and that all communications and meetings involving the county attorney's office shall adhere to the Florida Sunshine Law. Communications with the county attorney may be protected under attorney-client privilege, and employees must not disclose privileged communications to unauthorized persons, such as a response to public records request. And then the next policy and procedure is 1B, which is direct submissions for review. So these are items that staff can provide or discuss directly with the attorney's office. One is contracts. County departments are authorized to submit contracts and related legal documents directly to the county attorney's office for review without the prior need of approval from the county administrator. The planning and zoning department, the director of planning and zoning may contact the county attorney's office directly on non-contract matters, specifically related to development applications, interpretation of the land development regulations, and other related planning issues. And then we have sensitive or high impact issues. And while these matters generally require prior consultation with the county administrator or one of the assistant county administrators, exceptions are permitted. However, the administrators must be notified as soon as possible after the initial contact with the attorney's office. And the county departments may contact the attorney's office directly in situations such as receipt of subpoenas, summons, law enforcement inquiries, time-sensitive litigation documents that do not involve the county's liability carrier or public risk management. And some of those examples are foreclosures and code enforcement matters. And then with routine matters, county departments must consult with the county administrator or one of the assistant county administrators before contacting the county attorney's office regarding legal matters other than contract review. And then the administrators will determine if legal consultation is necessary or if we're able to deal with that item, administratively. And then for response time, the county attorney's office will make every effort to respond to requests within a reasonable time frame. A reasonable time frame is defined as 3 business days from the date of receipt of the request, unless the matter is urgent or requires expedited attention. And in such cases, the county attorney's office will communicate expected time frames based on the workload and priority. And that is what is being proposed.
Okay, and I assume you and the attorney
Yes.
have discussed this.
He moved.
I lost Abraham. I can see him now, but so everybody seems to be in agreement to this. And okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions, comments from the board? Everybody okay with it? Can I get a motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Goodbread, second by Commissioner Sumner. to adopt Administrative Regulations 3-12 for the County Attorney Communications Policy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Miss Deb, we're still 14 minutes away from the advertised time, so...
Do you want to do the county attorney update now?
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that.
Okay, very good. So I have two updates. One of them is the resolution which we added to the agenda, but the first one is the matter that we dealt with 2 meetings ago with that right-of-way resolution with respect to the county right-of-way for those 2 areas. So we, as directed by the commission, we filed the request for judicial notice with the court. We made a limited appearance for the purposes of doing so, and we got word from the court through the filing system, but also from one of the other attorneys. There's a hearing tomorrow morning. The defendants have filed a motion for leave to file a counterclaim and cross-claim. I'll be at that hearing, so I just wanted to let you all know. We technically aren't going to be speaking at the hearing, but just so we're apprised of what's going on and we can get a sense of what the judge's position is and if there's a chance the county's going to get more involved or get brought in. So I'll be at that hearing tomorrow. I just wanted to let you all know where we are with that. The second matter is the resolution number 2025-19, which you all have before you. I'll read the title of the resolution, and then I'll let you know the motion we're requesting you to make and answer any questions you may have. So this is the resolution that you have before you. This was added to the meeting this morning. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Okeechobee County, Florida, requesting the Board of Trustees of the Internal Improvement Trust Fund of the State of Florida to enter into an exchange agreement with Okeechobee County relating to the county's Okatani property, authorizing the county to enter into the exchange agreement and take all actions necessary or appropriate to effectuate the transactions contemplated thereby, and providing for an effective date. We are requesting that you make the motion be the motion to approve Resolution 2025-19, subject to any change as may be required by the county attorney. The lands in question are being surveyed. The surveys have not come back yet, and so we will, at minimum, need to add those legal descriptions, which we do not yet have. So that certainly will be one revision we'll have to make, and then we'll work with the state with respect to finalizing the agreement and landing the plane. But they do need a resolution from us for their deadline of their meeting of April 30th. So today is really our only chance to get this done without a special meeting. Any questions?
So you need a motion to adopt this resolution subject to your final writing of it and then bring it back for a signature and go from there?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to that effect?
Mr. Lade? Oh, wait.
You said it's okay to bring it back even though it's an April 30th deadline.
Bring it back for signature.
I know, but
we'll have to...
Quantification is that when it goes to the Division of Lands, it needs a signature, so I'm just trying to clarify.
As soon as she gets it legal sufficiency, I would sign it at that time.
Prior to April 30th?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good.
It wouldn't have to come back to this board is what I was saying.
That was okay, that's
If you're
good.
okay with
That was a yeah.
Yes,
That's what I was
Commissioner.
trying
The
to follow.
surveyors know that we have this deadline, so they just weren't able to get us these legal descriptions for today.
I'm good.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion? Can I get a second? Second. We have 3 seconds. So, that's kind of like...
Actually made the motion, too. You got 2 motions and 3 seconds, so you're good.
Okay. I'll do this. Motion by Commissioner Burrows, second by Commissioner Goodbread. Will that work? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Attorney, while one of you have the floor, you want to continue on with your report?
At this time, those are the 2 items that we have for you all.
Okay. Ms. Deb.
Yes, sir. So Jessica is going to provide a administrator's report. We're going to try to be doing this monthly. And as she's handing them out, this is for the month of March.
Thank you.
And this is to deal with non-construction, the non-capital items, and just to give you some information about what's going on in the different departments. So on page 2, what's going on in administration with the budget and grants area. We have the fiscal year 26 budget that we had meetings with the departments last week. And then also this Friday, we have the annual 4-county budget review meeting that'll be over in St. Lucie County, where we talk about the judicial system, medical examiner's office, and guardian ad litem program. Also, under grants, we had a bid opening, which was a grant for the Agri-Civic Center and Fairgrounds East Roof Extension, and that is, staff is negotiating with that bid proposal. We only received the one. Under Human Resources Risk Management, we had 6 new hires, 2 reassignments and transfers, and then 9 seasonal hires. Some of these were brought before you because they were director positions or just introductions, but the new hires we had in March were Jessica Pizarris, our Special Projects Manager. We also had another Jessica, but thank goodness she goes by Brooke Bowden. She's the Budget and Procurement Assistant. And then Jarrett, did he leave? Okay. As you all have seen around here, is our Public Information Officer and Communications Specialist. In Facilities, Troy Schooley was hired as the Grounds Maintenance Supervisor. In Road Maintenance, Derek Johnston was hired as the Herbicide Spray Technician. And then in Public Safety, you all met and approved the appointment of Karen Kozak. And then we have the Seasonal and Recreational and Parks and Recreation, the lifeguards. And then we had a transfer in Agri-Civic Center for an on-call staff to the line service technician at the airport, and then a reassignment. And I wish I could say those names, but since I can't say the names, of an on-call driver to a full-time driver. At the airport, going over to page 3, at the airport and Commerce Park, there's several leases that were pending. Some of them were pending final signatures that will be brought to the board. And we're also looking at leases ready for some appraisal, an appraisal's undergoing right now, under review at this time. Some of the non-construction projects, again, that are going on, we had to sell the derelict Falcon airplane, which we brought up at the last meeting. There were 2 projects that were submitted for grant requests to Florida Department of Transportation for airport security fence and perimeter clearing. And then also Enterprise Car Rent-A-Car was reinstated. And then if you go to the property appraiser's website, you will see now with their aerial view of the Commerce Park, it was modified to include the leaseholders' names. So you'll find that there. And then for their fuel cell statistics, looking at a year ago, March of 2024, compared to March of 2025, they had an increase of just under $3,000 from one year to the next. Moving on to the capital improvements and facilities department. Of course, most of their projects are under the capital items list, but one of the administrative tasks that they have successfully moved the offices to the historic courthouse. So, in community development, affordable housing and SHIP, there's approximately just under $24,000 in funds left, and they have several applications they've received and are reviewing those applications. Moving on to page 4 with code enforcement, some of the statistics for the month: 140 cases were open, 161 cases were closed from previous cases, and 34 cases went before the special magistrate. 62 requests for lien searches, and then as you look at their information that they have below between cases opened, it appears, other than the lien request of 62, so that's a lot of property being sold or people buying new properties, but is care of premises. So there's 18 of those cases. Those seem to be the most. And with planning and zoning, the petitions in progress, some of these are some that at the beginning have already happened, but if you look under the petition number that starts kind of with the yellow, you have about 5 special exceptions that are in review process, and there are 5 site plans that are on the list. Some of these site plans have already been approved. One's pending, and the ranches at Quail Creek was approved today. The preliminary plat was approved today. And then you have a couple rezonings and then a planned development zoning as well. And then moving over to page 5 with community services. These at the Agri-Civic Center, the library, the Parks and Recreation, Senior Services, Tourist Development, and the Ag Extension. This is a list of the events and activities that occurred during this past month. And then moving over to page 6 under public safety. And I think you'll hear more about some of those activities, so I wasn't going to go through all those at our next meeting when Denise gives her annual report. But in public safety, they had a couple grants, actually 2 grants. One was the grant air compressor, so that's been received and installed. That was a FEMA grant. Then they also had a rural EMS grant for CPR devices, and the equipment was placed into service. And then the E911 GIS addressing project, the grant amount was increased and the project is still ongoing. And their statistics, they had 722 calls, and it breaks down into 169 for fire, 519 for EMS, and 34 MVC. And just a little bit of information there, the busiest engine was engine 2, with 181 calls. The busiest day was on B shift, which was March 17th with 32 calls. And then the busiest rescue was Rescue 2 with 206 calls. And then finishing this up is Public Works, Road and Bridge, and lots of activities that they have going on throughout our county. Some that I'll mention is they've 1,487 linear feet of county roadside ditches were cleaned. 5,300 linear feet of scheduled canals were cleaned. 15,840 linear feet of scheduled ditches and canals were cleaned with the short stick. There was one with the long reach extension. But you can continue seeing all the activities down through there. I didn't want to read all of this, but just to give the community a little bit of information. Then the repairing placement, 66 tons of hot asphalt was laid for pothole and road repairs throughout the county. And then with the drainage improvements, 17,640 linear feet of road shoulders were cut to properly drain roads for surfaces. And then with my 2 minutes left, I just wanted to, I'm not going to go through, but the quarterly report for the equipment and for the capital projects, I've provided that information to you. Not a whole lot of change from the last report, but we did get the X-ray scanner was received at facilities and that was for the courthouse. So, and then ending up my comments, Main Street Art Reception is tonight from 5 to 6:30 in our building, and then the next BOCC meeting is May 8th, 2025.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be like the nurses. This is not good. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jessica really helped with
not only does it let the public know what all of our staff's doing, but it lets us know, so when we get a question, we can say, hey, the chief had 17 calls yesterday or whatever it may be, because we get questions like that all the time. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It is great.
Thank you.
Okay. And you stayed within your 2 minutes. Okay.
So we have the jail expansion project progress
that
report.
That one first? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Nelson and Company. There they are.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, County Administrator, County Attorney. I'm in front of you today for our monthly report for the jail expansion project. Of course, I have with me Joe Murat with Secure Texture and Paul Fernandez with Ajax Builders, and I will let Paul take it from here.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
And thank you again for letting us present our update in front of you today.
Would you keep it to something that pertains to us?
Yes, sir. Status on the project is moving along as planned. We're continuing to, is this working here? Here you have our latest aerial. As you can see, the lower unit C pod is now enclosed, so the skin is complete. It's dried in, and we're continuing all of our finishes inside. Our cells were delivered, as you all saw and witnessed, and we're now connecting all of our utilities to the backside of the cells to get everything energized. All of our block work is continuing on the inside to divide all of our pod cells. We're probably about 95% complete with the block work at this point. Our top of wall construction above the masonry is going up to the underside of the roof. It's getting drywalled, insulated, and here you see all of our mechanical connections, electrical connections, sanitary piping, and copper for the water lines, along with all the various sensors that provide control of all the utilities to the cells. Here we're framing and drywalling all of our skylights. Interesting to note is in that lower middle picture, you need a special type of lift to get up into the cavity of the skylight to be able to drywall that. It's not your standard lift. It's interesting. It's a one-man lift. Here we have the roof and siding on the exterior of the building. Everything has been inspected and signed off. All of our warranties are in place, and the building is now officially dried in. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, Commissioners, and as always, thank you for allowing me to be of service to Okeechobee County. My photograph up here is intentional. It may look somewhat chaotic, but I was struck by a thought when I was up there. So this photograph is actually taken standing in what will be the control room looking out toward the cell blocks. And you can see there's scaffolding, there's masonry construction going on, there's ductwork being installed, the sprinklers are already in and things of that. So it looks somewhat chaotic, but it struck me as this is a view of this jail I will never see again. And so in the future, I'm going to take a picture from this very same spot when the ceilings are in and the walls are painted, and you will not recognize it. And it just struck me, all of the work, all the coordination, and there's a lot of activity going on there, and there's people working like over the top of other people and so forth, and trying to get the trades that are closer to the roof deck done first to make way for the people down below. Just a lot of activity. It's pretty well orchestrated, although it looks somewhat chaotic. But I found it as very interesting a thought there. But we are beginning to start kind of pre-punch list inspections. Some of them is a little too early to do that, but we're getting ready to install a couple of mock-ups that I want to view on my next visit of the project. So there's quite a bit going on. There's a lot of activity, and it's a lot of fun. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
A lot of progress going on. Looks good. I just have to ask you, the drywall and the skylight, did you design that on purpose where you had to have a special lift?
Well,
he kind of alluded to that.
Yeah, well, you know, I always tell people I didn't have any trouble drawing it that way.
Good answer.
It's up to us to figure out how to do it.
Any questions, comments from
I got one.
Commissioner?
Did y'all make a special cell for the commissioners because we went against California and HR puffing stuff or whatever that was? Want to make sure we got our own, special cell with phone charger in it and everything.
I'll speak on that because I think the sheriff alluded before we started the project. I think he already had cells for y'all. I think he came in and spoke on that in the beginning. So
He's always thinking.
Yes, sir.
He's always thinking. Thank you, sir, very much. We appreciate all your hard work.
What's the estimated completion date?
Yeah. So, the original contract date is July 19th. We'll be right within that window. Maybe a little bit behind that, but I would say we're going to be real close to that window.
Okay. Very good, thank you. And Justin, you relayed to us several times that you're working on plans for some of the existing buildings to do some modifications there to take care of a lot of our needed space?
Yes, sir. We're looking at those spaces now, trying to evaluate. It's a little harder at this point until we don't have inmates in those cells, like in the old B pod. So we're looking at those things. We're looking at some ideas. Don't have anything definitive with that, but of course, my next item is one of the things we have worked through that process. So we're working on it. We're just really, my main concern before we really get too deep into those is where we're at with the funding that's left out of the GMP for the total construction, what our savings are going to be. And Paul's trying to get all our DPOs closed out now. That'll give us some numbers that we can go ahead and start working through to get an idea of what funding we'll have left out of the total construction amount that was allocated for the jail without having to come back to the board for any additional funding.
Okay. And thank you so much for your presentations. Just like the administrator's report, it's so beneficial to us to know what's going on out there. So when the people ask us about it, we can say, from this view, this is what it looked like, and this is where we are today. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have to second that on this we call it the administrator's report. Mm-hmm. And this is really helpful. This is very, it's organized, and we can, at a glance, see different things that are going on in county. So, and I know all of you work so hard at it. So, it's really handy, and I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, sir. You gonna move on to the next one?
I'm ready when y'all are.
All right, sir.
So I'm in front of you today. So of course, to look at some options and ideas. So really, what we're looking for right now, it's not more or less a presentation. It's more or less just some guidance in how the board wants me to move forward with this project. So throughout the design and throughout the project, we've been looking at our A building. A building is a storage building that will house a significant amount of storage and vehicle processing and some other stuff for the SO, along with fire rescue. When this building originally came forward, it was about a $2.5 million project. We've looked through some VE items, went back and looked at a bunch of different options on how we could do this. Paul, myself, Joe, all of us have been involved in looking at what we can do. It's been a pretty good bit of a process to negotiate back and forth with these subcontractors to try to get this project in what I felt would give us what we need, along with a price that we felt was acceptable. So throughout that process, we have come back, we've value engineered it, and looked at, instead of doing a CMU building, like I said, that building came in around 1.8 to 2.3 million to build that building in the original. Of course, that was back in 2001, 2000 to 2001. So now we're looking, that building could have been well over that 2 million mark. So as we've done that, we went back, valued engineered this, and started looking at some of the other projects the county has been doing for storage, for small spaces. And we looked back and figured that what we consider light gauge steel structure would make the most sense. And that coming back, we have the same size build. It's actually a small bit larger than the original building design, based off of what their standards are. And now we're looking and getting into that building. We're going to be about that $885,000 range to go ahead and get that building erected. That includes our electrical, our plumbing for future uses. But of course, we're not doing a complete build out of that building. It's going to be pretty much, let's meet the need that we have right now and worry about what the actual future needs could be for the build out of the building. But we'll be mainly putting in a divider wall between fire rescue and the sheriff's department, and getting in the lighting, electrical, all of that to the minimum standards that we need to go ahead and start utilizing that space. So kind of just looking for some direction from the board before we move forward with developing a GMP. Of course, all this will be paid out of contingency dollars that we have saved throughout the project. As of now, we're about $1.5 million in savings. So that will be the funds that we will utilize to move forward with this project. So it won't be no more funds added to the project. It'll be utilizing the additional contingency money that we have accumulated throughout the project.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to address Justin. I understand it's a Carolina carport?
Yes, sir.
I know that's a big company, but the Carolina carports I see are, carports. This is a building. What is the wind load?
170 mile an hour wind load.
Really?
Yes, sir. And we've got 3 of these structures going up throughout the county, and some of them we've already completed. Wow. So we've had a really good success rate. We've saved, we had one building come in over $1 million. We'll be in that building for less than $300,000 by going this route. We had another building that was about $750,000 to erect and build, and we increased that building in size by almost double and came in about $230,000 by going this route.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, the name's a little misleading when you think about the ones that you see around, but I know firsthand that at Venus, one of these facilities has been put up, and a major hurricane went right across the top of it, and it's still there.
Yeah, when you look at the drawing, you can see it's not a carport. It's a building with doors,
prefab
garage
building,
doors.
so.
Yes, sir.
Just elaborate on that a little more, please. What we're looking at is a prefab metal building with roll-up doors and firewalls and walk-through doors.
Yes, sir.
And I would think that you would probably, even though you may not do all your plumbing and electrical you want to do in there yet, that you would put in the put the pipes, and also it could come in later.
All of our underground water, wastewater, water, all that, of course, all the drains, anything that would be under slab is going in as part of the project. Anything that we can do at a later date, which would be some of our maybe larger electrical improvements, any of that, we have it set up to where it's a split panel system. We'll be able to just add branch circuits in as we need them. So yeah, we've thought through all that and made sure that we were getting what we needed now to make this thing up and operational. So, and we've reduced some of the scope to give us exactly what was really needed rather than what was kind of a want.
And this goes all the way back to the committee that we appointed to give us the suggestions on the jail. This is one of the things they wanted. And we know that we're probably not in compliance on fire rescue because they have to be inside of a building, those apparatuses we have, and we've run out of space. So I think it could be a great thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Paul has done, it's taken a few months to get us to this point, but Paul has done a lot of back and forth with me, and there's been a lot of bickering about costs and trying to figure out how to get this thing down to what I thought was an acceptable cost. So I appreciate the effort that Paul and Joe and their staff has put into this, because I wasn't taking the numbers we were getting back from our subs as acceptable dollar values. So we've done a lot of negotiations back and forth to get to this dollar amount that I thought was acceptable. So, and like I said, that 800 and something, we have some contingency in there, but that is pretty much a total dollar value. That includes the building purchase and everything. And of course, we'll be DPOing in everything we can. Of course, the building itself will be part of our DPO, so we'll have those tax savings also.
So you're looking for approval of the concept, and at some time we will bring back for the final plans and the transfer of funds?
So the plans are pretty much finalized. What you see is our plan is. Main thing I want to do is make sure that I can move forward with going ahead and getting the GMP back in front of the board for execution. With kind of what's happening right now with the tariff and these trade issues, I want to head this up before we start having any increases in our steel. That's one of the main reasons why we want to get this thing back in front of the board for the next meeting for execution.
So you're thinking next meeting you would have it back?
That is the goal, is to get this back in front of the board to execute. Or if the board's consensus is that we could go ahead and have it ready now and I can have the chairman execute it prior to that, we would love to see that to get this thing moving forward.
Yes, Deb, how will we work the funding to be able to transfer the surplus funds that left over
already
from
done.
the good job?
Yeah, the board had already moved the funds to this phase.
It's in phase
Yes.
2 already. The funding is in phase 2 already. We moved $1.46 million or so into phase 2 already. So the funding's already there. It's just sitting in our contingency line. So I would be kind of looking for the board to allow me to move forward with that, moving that funding into phase 2B, which would be what the GMP will be. So we would be moving that into phase 2B out of the phase 2. The $885,000-ish dollars. Sorry, I don't have it. $885,508 into phase 2B, and going ahead and moving forward with the GMP and executing that.
So the funds in fiscal year 26, and whenever we've made the motions, evidently we've put into the motions which phase of the jail project it's for, which really didn't need to do that, but since we did that just to make it clear, whenever he comes back with the final GMP, we'll put in there, to approve the funds being moved from
Phase
Phase
two
two
to Phase
to-
2B.
yeah.
So you prefer to bring it back or make a motion subject to approval to? No,
If-
Miss Deb, but
If
what's
you're
your
ready, yeah. I didn't know if,
Move it.
do we need to wait for the,
I think with what preliminary GMP I have, I think Paul? So as Paul stated, we're putting together the schedule for the GMP is what his staff is doing now. He can have that ready in 2 weeks. So with that time frame, I'll just bring it back to the board for execution if
Commissioner
y'all
Burrows?
want to do that.
I was just going to make the motion just to move ahead so you don't have to sit and bring this thing back.
Right. That's
I mean,
really
that-
nice
it-
asking if
That's
Miss Deb
fine.
was good with that.
Yeah, if you're good with that,
Yeah.
I'd prefer to do that just to expedite this and keep going and get done with it.
I really want to get the building.
Just my motion is to move forward with it.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burrows, second by Commissioner Sumner to go ahead and move forward with what you call a G what?
It'd be Phase 2B.
Yeah.
And it would be
2B?
a building.
A
And-
building?
Yes, sir. And that dollar amount was the 805, I think.
Okay. All right. Anything else need to add in that, Miss Deb? You okay?
yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Thank you, Justin.
Yes, sir.
And
I think that's all I have
thank
for you.
Thank you for what you're
Yes,
doing back there. We're going to get, you're still going to come back to see us when we finish this up, I hope.
They're going to have to.
He's getting so used to Florida, he's got to come back. He
Yeah,
can't stay.
he may have to put an office in Okeechobee. So, thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hayford. Mr. Hayford has been so gracious to say he'll come up and give us an update on all the things happening at OUA. And I hear there's a lot of good things. I'm anxious to hear about it.
He doesn't look anxious.
Good morning. John Hayford, Okeechobee Utility Authority. Yes, lots going on. We're, like y'all, we're pretty busy. We're wrapping up some projects and getting ready to start others, so I'll run through some of these photos you've seen before, but it is just an update, so we'll see how it works from there. All right, what button do I have to push here? The right button? I was pushing that, but it didn't. There we go.
I've had my buttons pushed all morning.
Wrong one. Well, I'm done. Here we go.
Appreciate it.
Very brief. So the Southwest Service Area is a very big project. It stretches up from around the master pump station up near the airport, NW15, which will receive all the flow from what we're calling the Southwest Service Area. Southwest Service Area on the south starts at Okeechobee area. It's a force main collection system running up State Road 78 all the way up to a regional pump station up on the Old Dixie. We have in the middle is Project 2, which is the collection area for the Southwest Service Area. And then, like I said, goes up to NW15. Zeroing in, the green line represents a sanitary force main from the pump station serving Project 2 up to the airport. That is in place and done. Project 2 is the actual collection system. We are expecting to be done with that by June. So a couple months out, most of the collection system is in. They're finishing up the 2 vacuum pump stations. So again, we're trying to look at this at being done by the June timeframe. And there's a northern part. This is just a quick talk. There's the 2 pump stations, 4 and 5, and the collection system for Project 2. Project 2 is about a $12 million project funded through DEP money as well as a USDA loan. Again, we're talking about 500 to 700 connections, household connections, when the project is completed. Okeechobee Force Main. The northern segment is under construction right now. That's going from VEC Station 4 area up to the pump station. That should be done again by next month, ahead of the June completion time period for Project 2. The rest of the Okeechobee Force Main is probably at a 75-80% design, essentially waiting on the last few permits, Army Corps permits, and that would be ready to go to construction certainly before the end of this year, maybe as early as fall, but it's going to be under construction before the end of the year. That is a look at the Okeechobee Force Main in closer detail. Like I said, that northern little segment is already under construction, and the bulk of it would be starting before the end of the year. Another project, Southwest 5th Avenue, probably at about a 95% design. It should be going to construction sometime late this summer, right about hurricane season, which is our perfect timing. $7.5 million project. We are not fully funded. That might delay the construction because it's not fully funded. We have about $2.5 million, so we're looking at a $5 million deficit. The state appropriation did not. It's in negotiations between the House and the Senate to keep it in the budget. But again, we will still need to get some funding through state revolving fund. Treasure Island. Treasure Island is under design. It's broken into 3 projects. The force main that will go from Treasure Island up to Cemetery Road is probably at a 90% status right now. The north and the south collection systems are still at about 35 to 40% design. We're trying to acquire property for the pump stations, and they're finalizing the design to get to the 90% mark so that we can push it through hopefully before the end of the year and actually start on some construction. As shown there by the side, it is a very, very expensive project. Could be as high as $70 million. And we have in-house about $20 million so far. So we're still going to have to acquire some funding from different sources, but that's going to be an ongoing effort. Other projects, we have State Road 78 Water Main Project. Phase 1 has been completed. We just put out the bid Phase 2. We have 2 more phases to go to get it down to the water tower in Buckhead Ridge. So we'll be looking forward. We would like to work with our next phase, to work with county staff, hopefully trying to see if there is some CDBG monies that might be available for Phase 3, as well as the developer paying a portion of that. But we will work towards that, the developer being for the Glades County project, Lakefront Estates.
Mr. Hayford, why wouldn't you be looking to Glades County to get the CDBG money for that
Because
phase?
the project is in Okeechobee County. I don't know
What if it's going to the water tower in Glades County? It's not.
That segment from Kissimmee River to the tower would be Glades County.
That's where I'm
Yes,
coming
sir.
from.
That would be Glades County.
Why would we not go to them?
We will. That's
Okay.
fine. But for Okeechobee back would be where we'd work through the Okeechobee County.
And
staff.
you say you're about to do Phase 2. You said
Phase-
it's going.
Phase
Where
2
does
will
that,
get
where
us-
does that go to?
It will start about the Shrine Club where Phase 1 stopped and get us to south of Lemkin Creek. So it's about another 4,000 or 5,000 feet of pipe.
Okay.
The third phase is from about Lemkin Creek to Big O, and then the segment from Big O to the tower would probably be broken up into 2 more projects.
Okay.
Is there any boost pump or anything? Is everything that goes to the new Glades County development gravity fed out of the tower, or how does that work, John?
So the hydraulic says that somewhere around Big O, we'll put in a ground storage tank that will become a repump facility. The developer is looking at putting in another smaller ground storage tank at about the VFW which will support Buckhead Ridge and Lakefront Estates or any other developments further south. And then we won't need the elevated storage tank anymore.
Do away with the tower, huh?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
We'll have to address that later, but what I'm saying is the elevated storage tank will become essentially not useful anymore once we get the other ground storage tanks in, and we'll have to cross that bridge later.
And Mr. Hayford, you told me at the current time you do not have any permitted for going from the tower to the project. You said that was permitted by DOT, DEP, Glades County, whoever, that they had not got a permit from you to tie into your system.
The water tower to the property is permitted through DEP and DOT. What they were trying to acquire was a permit from, I think, Glades County for right-of-way work.
Understand, but do they have a permit from you to hook into your system?
They have a permit that we signed off on DEP. Yes, sir. They do have a Department of Environmental Protection permit for the water main.
So DEP can regulate. Do you? You have to let them hook into your system. You don't have anything to say about it?
No. We have already signed that permit, so it is going in as we speak. The 16-inch water main from the water storage tank down to Lakefront Estates is going in as we speak, per the developer. They're paying for that.
Okay.
What we are waiting on was the on-site distribution system, actually on Lakefront Estates. That permit is still got to go in and get approved by DEP. That's the one that they're waiting on for the on-site permit.
Okay. Who will own the pipe from the water tower south?
The OUA.
Okay.
From the water tower to the property will be owned, operated, maintained by the OUA.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Other projects, we are still trying to pursue the AMI project, which will be a metering system that will be at each of the residences and businesses, where we will be able to interrogate them remotely to do billing purposes. The individual owners will be able to get to see data on their water usage, and or we get alert status of overuse or no use, and of course for the automated billing projects. The pump station we were talking about on the north end from the SWA, Southwest Service Area, NW15, we're going to be upgrading that with a new generator, electrical, and pumps. And then, of course, we're moving forward with household connections, septic to sewer in the areas that already have sewer available to them. So especially after Southwest Service Area becomes available, we'll move into that. We just completed it for Pine Ridge Park. So there is some grant money available to do the on-site abandonment of septic tanks and connecting houses to the street.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So how does somebody apply for that grant? Is that something that you provide the customer, or does the customer have to apply to OUA for the grant?
The way it's worked in the past is the OUA hired contractors to do the work. The homeowners have to just agree that they wanted to connect.
Okay.
I don't know about going forward. But that's the way we have gotten up to this point. It's really an OUA perspective.
All right. I'm just trying to clarify when you say
the grant. We already have some grant money. I think it's a little under $3 million left that we will be doing these projects.
Okay.
And that's what we've got going on. I can tell you that, like I said, the one state appropriation for the Southwest Fifth Avenue is in committee meetings, if you will, between the conferences, if you will, between the House and the Senate to see if we can stay in the budget. We did get some grant monies through the TMDL and FDAX, so we were successful getting some grant monies through there, and we will continue to pursue other grant monies wherever we can find them and go after them. So I'll open up to any questions you might have.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, you talked about $70 million going to Treasure Island. Fully understand that, but what's the plans on getting the pipes on the east side, force main, east side water to go, let's say, all the way to basically the ag center or to the school in that area? Is there any, and the reason I'm asking that because we hope that they're about to decide what they're going to do on the purchase of the land for the bypass. There was a proposal for development in that area that didn't include any of that. So how close are we to a design there so that people know where it's going to go, and how soon will that be available, at least to that point?
So that design is about 90% done. On the south end, we have most of the easements already signed up and recorded. There is one development just south of the between 70 and the L63 canal where they have conceptually agreed to easements where we need it. We don't have it in writing yet.
Okay.
But the project is at about 90%. We have to get those easements done, and then we'll be able to go to bid.
Okay. So when you get it to that point, let's say to Highway 70 for conversation, have you had any contacts from people wanting to carry it east?
Every week, sir.
Okay.
Every week.
What's our plans for that? And I know that should be a developer's cost, and I'm all for it. But do we have the capacity when that happens, and they can do the lines similar to what they did, the water management did on 441?
So the piping system that's planned?
Yeah, well, I mean, will we have the pipe to Highway 70 in a reasonable amount of time, whatever time that may be, and then they can take it at their own expense and go from there?
Yes, sir. And the capacity of the pipeline, there is some vacancy, if you will, storage capacity in that would accommodate those flows coming in from the east.
Okay. What would be your guesstimate of a time frame that we would have the pipes to Highway 70? And I'm not trying to hold it to you. I mean, I know but I get asked that question regularly.
I've been saying 2 years.
Okay, that's fine.
2 years is the target.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And until we get the easements from the one developer, it keeps sliding. But 2 years is the time frame.
And so you're getting close on your design. Do you have the funds to pay for that part?
Yes, sir. Like I said, right now we have about $20 million
so
lined
you're
up.
good to go then once you get everything.
So that piping, once we get the easements, what we as a company would have to say is that if we start spending that money, we're committed. We're going forward with the entire project with that understanding that there is going to be a fairly big capital expense.
Okay. All right, sir. Any questions? I appreciate you coming. I mean, there again, as we've had these reports all day long, it is so helpful when people ask us. I mean, just what you told me in this last little bit is questions I get asked multiple times a week.
Happy to get the information out there.
And, and we'll appreciate the fact that you work with us on the septic, the sewer, and all that. We support you, and anything we can do to support you. I mean, CDBG money, Commissioner Burrows works on that a lot up there. I mean, I'm sure that if he can funnel some of that towards these projects while he's lobbying for us, I'm sure he'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, they've been quite helpful at the state level. I mean, it's just a matter of we would just have to go through the process of identifying that as a possible project, water main, so that we can serve the Okeechobee development and their needs when they move forward, as well as Point South.
Fine.
Thank you, John.
Anything?
Thank you. Good.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Okay. This one has Mr. Royce's name on it.
Yeah, this next item is an update. Last year we got a grant for $75,000 from Florida Commerce. We were using the grant to do some population projection updates, to look at several different build-out scenarios for the county, what could happen based on our current future land use, and if we make some changes to that, and then a rural character analysis. So here's an update on that. Looking at some options for the rural character possibilities, some things maybe we can encourage, and some discussions of the build-out scenarios. Again, so what would happen if we don't do anything, then what might happen if we did. So this is Eliza with Kimberly Horn. They've been working on the project, and she will go through a PowerPoint with you with the update.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I think I can still say good morning, right?
Good morning. Yes,
Good morning.
absolutely.
Happy to be here. As Bill mentioned, we're working on the grant-funded project for you, and then this is going to lead straight into the work on the comprehensive plan update. So we're going to talk about a couple different pieces here. So we're going to start off talking about the rural character scenarios, which were a piece of that grant-funded work. Then we're going to move into the holding capacity analysis and the growth scenarios, which were also part of that grant-funded work. Those growth scenarios are really what has the potential to inform updates to the comprehensive plan, because they're starting to say, what do you want future growth in your county to look like in terms of how it's shaped. And then we'll talk about how those scenarios are different, what they mean from a policy standpoint, and then get into what's next. So from an introductory standpoint, these are, I got a little bit ahead of myself here. So starting with the rural character scenarios, that's really about maintaining community character. So we understand that the rural lifestyle, rural character is something that many community members feel is an important part of the image and the lifestyle within the county. So as potentially growth increases within the county, how does that get maintained over time? The holding capacity analysis. So that's actually an exercise that's required by the Florida statutes. The county is required to show that it can accept the amount of growth that's expected from a reasonable projection of future growth. Then in terms of the growth scenarios, that's more about policy. That's about how you want to see growth happen. Not necessarily just the amount of growth, but the way that growth is shaped as it comes into the county. And those are the sorts of ideas that could shape updates to the comprehensive plan. When we get into updates to the comprehensive plan, that'll also come in two flavors. The flavor that the state makes us do, so we have to make sure that the comprehensive plan is in compliance with any new legislation that's passed, as well as making policy updates that support those policy decisions on your part in terms of the shape of future growth. So we're going to start talking about the rural character. So as part of, there's a report that is going to accompany this, and we outlined a number of different principles that would go into what maintaining character, that rural character, would look like. So one is land stewardship. We're talking about how do we take care of the land, how do we ensure that it's being used well, whether that is for human habitation, whether it's for agriculture, whether it's for natural purposes. We understand that agriculture and rural places are an important part of the economy, and so how does that fit into this maintenance of rural character, and how does maintaining rural character go hand in hand with allowing for economic growth? Placemaking. So placemaking is a term we planners like to use. It can happen in all sorts of different places. There's placemaking in very urban places, but there's also what is the physical character, what is the look and feel of rural places. As I mentioned, agriculture is an important part of rural places, so making sure that those continue to have a place, to have functional agricultural operations within rural places is an important part of rural planning. We know that typically the kind of residential that is compatible with rural places is that lower density development. And of course, we're talking about these large land areas. There's an environmental sustainability component. So how are we dealing with water? How are we creating and restoring habitats for the creatures that live within here with us in Florida? So we did some site touring to get a sense of the character within the county. Of course, you probably are very familiar with that already, but it helps us to get a better sense of what's on the ground. Some of the things that we noted, in addition to the obvious, were large canopy oak trees. That's part of what you see as you're able to get out into these rural areas. Larger lots, but still a mix of different sizes. So, ranging from an acre up to 5 and 10 acres. A mix of paved and unpaved roads. Certainly a lot of the properties out here are on rural stormwater, so swales, as well as septic. And of course, right before this, you had a conversation about septic versus sewer. When you're talking about these really large lots, you typically are on some sort of septic system. Even things like the fencing tend to be different in these rural areas. And of course, agricultural uses spread throughout. And then, not necessarily rural, but more general notes. The rural activity centers that are out there, you see a mix of lots that are occupied as well as ones that are unoccupied that have never necessarily had a home on them or a business on them. Then we see, in the urbanizing areas, we see some of the newer subdivisions coming in that don't have much of a rural character, right? They're much smaller lots. They're not having those beautiful canopy oak trees, even that could be compatible with smaller lots. And we also see things like trends in mobile homes versus site-built homes. We're seeing that site-built homes are outpacing mobile homes, so that's a market sign. That's probably a positive market sign. And one of the things that we talked with Bill about is that generally when you're wanting to see some of those trees be successful, a lot of times power lines get in the way, and you guys have already established policies that require, in most cases, for those power lines to be underground for storm resilience purposes. That also is a good thing for the character side in terms of being able to maintain those trees closer to the right-of-way. So in order to explore this further, we broke it down into 3 different models of development. One illustration that I'm going to show you is the most rural illustration that we did. It combines a number of different concepts of types of rural development that could happen, as well as a significant amount of land that's reserved for other purposes. So 80% is reserved for either agriculture or upland preservation. And that's not counting the wetlands, because the wetlands you can't build on anyway. The second model is a little bit, is just one type of rural development, and that is a different mix. So that one's about 50% reserved and 50% developed, again, excluding the wetlands. And then we didn't illustrate urban, you guys, because that's not so much part of the study, and you have examples out there that can address that. So this is the illustration that we have for those 3 different typologies. What you see on the right of the image, that's what we're calling the village. In the center is the hamlet, and then the clusters are the little clusters of buildings on the left there. And these are still pretty big lots, so we're talking about half acre at the low end, including lots that are much bigger than half an acre, so half an acre, 1 acre, and larger, mixed in with some ongoing agricultural uses. Some important concepts here are the upland preservation areas are the kind of green and around the circles there. Let's see if this works here. Whoa. So these areas here, and it actually continues through here. We're fixing that in the report graphic. That's actually intentionally trying to put a little bit of space between the active agricultural uses, which we know use fertilizer, use pesticides, use things we don't necessarily want getting into our wetlands, to try to create some space between that important agricultural use and the natural habitat preservation that the wetlands are intended to accommodate, along with, of course, the water function there. These clusters could be a mix of things. They could just be a residential compound, maybe a family that wants to live near their kin, or it could be something else like a religious retreat site. So a mix of different options of what could happen on a site like that. And then I think the others are a little bit more straightforward in terms of those are just residential developments that are still pretty large lot, but have some park space that are mixed in, and again, not having the whole site urbanized. This is an illustration, and so on the last image you see here, what we're going to zoom in on, the red boxes. So this is an illustration of that hamlet and what that might look like. That You have the rural roadway, so we're not looking at curb and gutter. We're looking at the rural drainage, rural style roadways, but still having something to organize around in terms of some shared space. This is on the other side, looking at one of these greens that's mixed in with the development. And as you can see, the green too, it's not like an urban park you might see in the city. It's a more relaxed, natural feel to the park as well. So this is the second illustration, the one we're calling the semi-rural illustration. This one has probably even a greater mix of lot sizes. So you can see the darker color, the orange here is half an acre to 3 acres, so a range. And then the very large lots here on the edge are the 3 acre plus lots. And that's essentially those folks that really want to go out there and have some land. So you're able to accommodate, again, those mix of larger lots. One second here. Of course, we have to accommodate things like stormwater, ponds here, as well as, again, preserving the wetlands. So this area here you see on both sides is existing wetlands. So we did go out there and look for a real site in Florida. You can hardly find a real site that doesn't have some wetlands on it, as well as having some continuing active agricultural use. And I'll say in both, I didn't note this in the last diagram, but in both of these we have some non-residential as well. So we have some space for commercial, we have some space for the types of businesses that might support that agricultural use. So you don't want necessarily folks out there who don't have any access to services. You want to have some opportunity for non-residential uses to support the residents, as well as when you're on a major road, there's opportunities for the businesses there. We also did some illustrations of typical roadways that would be appropriate in these rural spaces. So this shows, we noted earlier that seeing those beautiful live oak trees that are so endemic to Florida is an important part that people typically want to see maintained going forward. So this is an illustration showing keeping space for those trees within the right-of-way, as well as, of course, the rural drainage and the space for the cars. When you do have these low volume roads, you don't always end up with sidewalks, and that can be okay if they're these really low volume roadways. And as we noted, the power lines are underground. Now you notice the tree spacing, we say 30 to 150 feet. If we were in an urban situation, you'd be looking at a line of trees, every 50 feet you put a tree. But in these more rural conditions, you'll see less regularity, more informal treatments. So that's why it's that big range. So you might say you have to have that number of trees, but you can mix up how you organize them. And that also allows for some of those trees to get really big. And this is a little bit higher volume road, so this would be a collector road. So this is where a lot of similarity to the last example. In this one, we are showing, maybe there's some utilities here that we weren't able to underground, either because they're existing or because they're higher voltage and they're harder to put underground. As well as, here you are having higher speeds and higher volumes. You want to have a space for people to travel away from the roadway. So that's what we're showing here is a multi-use trail that could be a natural kind of substance, not concrete, but something that is both less expensive than concrete and something that is more kind of aesthetically appropriate. So that's the rural side. Unless somebody stops me, I'll keep going. So now we'll talk about the holding capacity. So this is that exercise to say, can the county absorb the growth that is expected to come? So to do this, we take the future land use map, we add up everything that could possibly happen, not everything that's likely to happen, but everything that could legally happen under the existing comprehensive plan. And it's at a high level, so we're not looking at every individual lot to say what are the setbacks or anything like that. But we are looking at things like wetlands. We're assuming people are not building on the wetlands. So we do take that out of the acreage. So in terms of, and we have to make some accounting for the city because the numbers that we get from the state really only talk about the county as a whole, including the city. So that's why there's so many numbers on this chart, but I'll point out the important ones. So there's about 16,000 units of existing housing within the county for a population, in the unincorporated county for a population of 36,000. That's about almost 90% of the housing units in the county are in the unincorporated area. What the population that Beaver is projecting, so that's the Bureau of Economic and Business Research, which is the kind of the go-to entity for projecting population within the state, is 19,000 units. So that's a growth of about 2,800 new housing units over a 25-year period to 2050. So the total capacity of the, and it's not uncommon for the comprehensive plan to accommodate a lot more growth than you're projecting, and that's the case here. So the total capacity of the comprehensive plan, if everything got developed at maximum capacity, is over 200,000 units. So there's plenty of room in the comprehensive plan to accommodate any growth that might be coming, certainly within what's projected by Beaver. Now, Beaver is essentially kind of taking the trend of what's happening now and projecting it forward. So you have a big development that can come in. That's not necessarily accounting for that. And we've talked with Bill about some of the specific projects that there may be interest in terms of applications that might not really be taken into account there. Now, also the other thing this doesn't mean is it doesn't mean that the availability of those entitlements is in the place where somebody wants to build. So this is just at the whole county level, is there enough capacity? So the good news is this makes the state happy. The state says, they look at your comp plan, they say, we're not going to make you increase your capacity within your comp plan. We also looked at this by sub-area, so you can look and see the sub-areas that the county's traditionally used with sub-area 1 is the northern side of the county, sub-area 2 is kind of around the city, and then there's 2 sub-areas, 3 and 4, out to the east, and 1 sub-area to the west. So this starts to split out where those entitlements are geographically. So of the residential capacity, there's 40,000 units on the north side of the county. A lot of those are also in some of these bigger platted areas that there's vacant lots, and there's been vacant lots there for a long time, so there's not necessarily a reason to expect somebody's going to go build on those anytime soon, but they can. And then, the big chunk here is in 2, so that's right around the city. And then there's smaller amounts that are allowed in 3, 4, and 5. This breaks it out by future land use, and you guys will be able to access this afterwards for reference. But these are the future land use categories that allow different amounts of development. So that, as you can see, that urban residential mixed use is where most of the residential potential is. There's 35,000 units that could theoretically happen in the agricultural area. Is that likely? Not necessarily saying that's likely, but it theoretically could happen based on what's allowed. So that's holding capacity. Now we're going to move into growth scenarios. So I hope this is what I think is the fun part. Hopefully, I don't know if you guys think my job is fun, but I think it's fun. So hopefully I can keep you awake. The growth scenarios overview is where we start talking about what you actually want to see as a community. What is the desired path of growth that the community thinks would be desirable? So one important thing for all of these scenarios, this is where these scenarios are quite different than what I just showed you. So what I just showed you, the holding capacity, that was everything that could theoretically be built under the comp plan based on what's in the numbers without thinking too hard about where the market is or without thinking too hard about what's actually coming. So these scenarios are all going to be constrained by the Bureau of Economic and Business Research numbers, so that 2050. So that's the about 3,000 units. So the holding capacity, again, is not constrained by that. The base scenario is. The holding capacity is also, it's going to try to look more like what the market might look like. So I'm going to tell you today what we're looking at is the framework for these growth scenarios. I'm not going to be showing you the numbers. And in fact, in some ways, I don't think the numbers are the most important part. As we looked in the previous slide, theoretically, the county's comp plan has a lot of capacity. The question is, how do you want to see if that growth is above what's projected, or if it's right at what's projected, where do you want to be guiding that growth to go? So this is the base scenario. This is not the creative one. This is just saying, okay, we projected out what could happen under the comp plan, but if we just look at constraining it by those Bieber projections, constraining the non-residential capacity kind of to line up with that, then what do those numbers look like? We haven't projected that yet, but that's just based on the existing comp plan, no changes in policy. So the second scenario is starts to look at policy changes. So, and some of these are, I know, ones that I either heard in the previous time that I was able to visit here, or that I've heard in collaboration with Bill, that are things that connected to things that have been talked about by this board. So one of those things is increasing the allowable development of the industrial overlay from 10% to 60%. So I'm sure you all understand this, but for the public's understanding, right now there's these industrial overlays that are shown in red here that are a large area, relatively large area, that somebody could develop industrial, but the policy doesn't allow the whole thing to develop as industrial. Right now it's limited to 10%. The suggestion is to increase that to 60% of the area could be developed as industrial. But the additional thought here is actually to think about those as being more robust mixed economic activity centers. So rather than just being industrial with that expansion, to think about adding in other uses like residential, commercial, really starting to think of them as potentially mixed use activity centers. To the extent the want to keep the emphasis on job generating uses, there's opportunities to require what that mix looks like, to say that you can't just go do all residential, or you can't just do residential and retail, that you have to have a certain amount of office or a certain amount of industrial accompanying that, whether that's required to actually be constructed or whether it would just be land reserved. So for instance, on the retail side, very often you see residential wants to go in first, and the retail comes later, but by the time the retail comes, they don't have there's not land available because the residential's eaten up all the land. So you can require developers to reserve some land that they could come in later and start to build that retail once the market is caught up. And you'll often see like master plan developers doing this on their own intentionally, but when you've got a lot of different landowners, it can be hard to identify where that happens with just the private sector. So scenario 3, this is a structured growth overlay. So this is a little bit different. It still increases the industrial overlay from 10 to 60%, but keeps it industrial. But then looks at essentially the southern third of the county as a mixed-use cluster overlay. So when I was here last time, you all were talking about where you thought growth might be likely to happen, and what was essentially identified was this southern third of the county. So rather than going in and saying, let's just increase the land use on all of this land, which, you know, as we see, the comp plan already has a lot of potential development that could happen, to think about that as an overlay much like the industrial overlay. So we say this whole southern third is potentially accessible to development, but you have both criteria on what you would have to do to develop it, as well as a percentage cap to say, you know, you're only allowed to develop 20% of the land or 30% of the land. And there's always the ability for the commission to go back and say, if that 30% gets filled up, you can increase it, but not to say off the bat that it can just be 100%. So what are the kind of standards that might accompany this? And this is where we're getting into thinking ahead of what the policy might look like in the comprehensive plan. Of course, coordinating density and intensity with infrastructure availability. So again, you know, when I walked in here, you all were talking about the utility availability. So it makes a lot of sense to say, you know, we don't necessarily know where the utilities are going to be 5 years from now, but what we do know is that it would make sense to allow a little bit higher density if you have access to sewer than if you don't have access to sewer. So in this scenario, if you have access to sewer, there might be standards that would allow you to cluster at less than, not just those half-acre lots and greater that can accommodate septic, but you're able to do some smaller lots, and also to support, both to support the price of that sewer expansion, as well as to support the other services that people might want. And if you don't have access to sewer, then we might be looking at those rural scenarios that we looked at in the first half, where you're expected to follow those rural standards. Other design requirements that might be considered in this scenario would be preservation of right-of-way. So the county's in a great position where there's lots of places that you could put a road, right? As opposed to more developed counties that are kind of all filled up with subdivisions and there's not space to put a road through. The county's in a position where you don't really need a robust grid of collector streets right now, but if significant development happens in the future, at that point you would. But by that time that happens, it's too late because those right-of-way potentials have already been blocked off by development. So saying that within this mixed-use cluster, part of the cost of getting that increase in development capacity would be working with the county on where those future roadways might be to start to create that grid, larger grid of roadways, like a mile apart, so that you're not putting all your traffic on just a couple roadways forever moving forward. Could also include right-of-way expansion, reservation, or the opportunity to do frontage roads, things like that. So both new roads as well as right-of-way around existing roads. As in the previous scenario, there's potential to have requirements for mixed use, whether it's mixed use that's built up front or whether it's mixed use that's reserved for the future. Having that land available, even if it's may not be marketable right now, so we want to be careful about not requiring things that aren't feasible. But what is feasible is to say that we know that if you have these units if you have housing, and eventually you're going to need space for services, so starting to reserve that space. And then, of course, there's other design criteria that could come along with that for internal streets, park spaces, open spaces, et cetera. So this is just a summary slide, excuse me, of those three scenarios for reference. Again, all of them are constrained by that Bieber when we actually run the numbers. The organized growth scenario really is the one that thinks more about what those standards for development might be in more detail. Of course, these scenarios could be mixed and matched. This is why we're here to talk about it today. But these are the three scenarios that we're looking at this point for the scenarios for the grant-funded work, and then that could lead into policy updates going forward. So that's all I have for you today, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Questions, comments?
Awful lot of information in a short period of time.
My sponge got full.
And I assume we're going to get the printout so we can study it. So, Mr. Royce, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think she did a very good job. I've been happy with the work products they've been putting together. We have another deliverable due today, which we'll get to Tallahassee. But she did a good job of explaining the options. There's a lot of these things are really helpful, not only for the state review, but also for us here to, we know we want some things to change. We know we want to sort of stay rural, but yes and no on that. So some concepts we might be able to, not necessarily require, but encourage developers to do some of these more clusters, but still having some more rural areas, open space, or even agriculture. So I think this is a good foundation to start thinking about this stuff, and then converting these to actually policies in the comprehensive plan, future land use development, that will then lead to some amendments to land development regulations, hopefully to, depending on what it is, to require or at least encourage certain development patterns that will still let us stay as Okeechobee. So I'm happy.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Can we get a copy of that presentation emailed to us or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you so much. So how do we move from here?
During the meeting?
Well, so if you want, the next step will actually, if you don't have any changes to those scenarios, we'll run the math on those three scenarios. Honestly, I think the policy questions are probably as important as what the numbers turn out, but that would be the practical next step.
Thank you. You just saved his job. So, no, what's the steps that would, sure enough, you look forward to seeing happen after this?
Well, again, this was an update also for the grant, which we have to finish that up by the end of June. But then you approve another scope of work, a much broader scope of work, which is where, again, these are going to start converting these into some policies and some guidance for future land use map updates. That's one of the ultimate goals, is to have in that southern third of the county, there are many areas where you wanted to increase the density. I like the idea of, instead of for the industrial overlays, not just increasing the development potential, but converting those to some type of economic activity centers. There's more mixed uses. We have one development potentially coming that definitely wants to do a mix of residential, even some commercial and industrial behind it. Right now, we don't have a way to do that, so we're looking at ways that we can have some future land use classifications that can do that. So sometime in a few months, as we're going along with the other scope, that'll be time for another update for you to look at some stuff as we're developing it, and then or sort of some guidance on whether you like the direction we seem to be going or whether we need to revisit some things. So we'll be back with an update in a few months, don't know exactly when.
So, Bill, back to the industrial overlay. In the project you're talking about is a large project. So you take 200 acres of it, just for conversation. Okay, that's going to be industrial. What's to keep us doing the rest of it is residential or commercial or whatever when the zoning is completed? I don't understand what the problem would be. You can't do that.
Well, for the industrial overlays, most of the underlying future land use is either agriculture or rural estate. So if the overlay is not there, you can only do what you could do underneath it. Like that area, 70 West, that's all that's an agricultural future land use with a low density and no provision for industrial or agriculture. On the east side of the county, a couple of those industrial overlays are actually in over a rural estate area, future land use, which has that lower density. So converting these industrial overlays, not just increasing the amount of development, but adding a mixed use element to it, then gives us the opportunity to do that. Right now, we do not have a way to approve the development that wants to have the mixed use of the residential along with the industrial.
So how do we fix that?
Well, that's what we're working on.
I understand,
but it takes a comprehensive plan amendment first, because we have to probably...
Which is what we're working on.
Yes. And then after that, things like this, and then the zoning is going to be planned development for most of them, but we got to do that comprehensive plan amendment first so then they have something to apply for. And I think I like us doing, the county doing this rather than having individuals come in here and there. So, the next step is to get the policy, get the future land use element amended, adopt some better policies that allow us to do some of these things, and then we probably have the zoning districts already in place because these will be planned developments. So, the next step is just wrapping this up to do new policies in our comprehensive plan.
Okay, so when are we going to finalize the map is what we're looking for the comprehensive land use change? We gave you a general range, but when we're going to sit down and look at the map and say we need to critique it or fine or whatever it may be, when you're planning on that we have the opportunity to do that?
From where we are now, probably a good 3 months.
Okay. I'm just, but it is in the plans for that to happen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I asked you I'd had a question about some people that wanted to put in a convenience store. You remember I talked to you about it this week. Can that possibility of a comprehensive land use change for that area, if the commission decided that were to be needed, could that be included in that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, subject to the commission agreeing upon it, absolutely. So.
Right, yeah. Certainly some of these concepts that have been thrown out there, and some of them fairly recently, I'm thinking of those as we're putting these together to see, and then when you look at the bigger picture, is this a reasonable place to accommodate that? So, we're looking at ways to have more mixed uses, more commercial. We're supposed to be compact development and not be sprawled out, but we're a rural area, and it's going to be more sprawled out than an urban county. But, I want to find a way to at least that store there can be considered. Not guaranteed, but at least considered.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments? Thank you so much. Great presentation, and thank you, Bill, for lining all that up. We're moving along.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we're back to, so when I so rudely interrupted your report?
I think I finished that. There was one item that I did see on here. The county's considering applying to the Florida Department of Commerce for It's 2023 and 2024 small county CDBG funds. And the types of activities that the funds will be used for is to include neighborhood revitalization, housing rehabilitation, and commercial revitalization program areas. But 2 public hearings are required for this application to obtain citizen comments. And the first public hearing is scheduled tonight at 6 p.m. Here in the chamber, and the second public hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, the 30th.
And who's doing that?
The county is, because we're applying for CDBG funding, but we have to have 2 public hearings for public comments in order to apply for those funds.
So we're going to be here tonight at 6?
The commission's not, it's not commission staff's doing holding the public hearings, but it's the commission's not holding the meeting, staff is.
We'll be downstairs at the
That's where I was
Yes.
coming from. I
Well,
didn't know if we
you'll
was gonna
already
divide
be
up
here
and-
if you want to come and listen to any public comments or give public comments.
I
but,
thought we'd have to
yes.
divide and conquer, you know.
And it is in the chambers, right? I'm trying to think.
Some nice public comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me verify it is in the chambers, but it's here. And downstairs already is taken with the art. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Nelson.
Just a few things, and just to clarify what the county administrator was just looking at, it's in 201. It's in the conference room.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, next door here?
Yes, sir. Yeah, just want to make sure that she didn't have to go look for that. Just want to bring up a couple of items. We have started to see some more progress on some of our projects. So, Ag Center maintenance building, most of that got delivered yesterday. We should have the rest of that delivery the next day or so. We'll start seeing that building go up. So,
Would that not be a good building for people to look at, to have a concept of what you want to do over here at the jail?
yes, sir. That's a very similar building to what we're doing at the jail. Very similar in design.
Okay.
So, that'd be a great one if anybody's interested in looking at that, especially through the erection process. They'll be able to see what we've got going on with that. Another one is animal control. We're getting real close to finishing that project up. We're hoping to get the kennels, the PO for the kennels in the next day or so. So we'll start seeing the kennel delivery. We're about a week or so out to see the kennels delivered, and then I'll be working with SO staff on getting that put together, because that is going to be a complete modular system. So we're hoping to get that project finished up here in the next 30 to 60 days. So I've just now finished up last night the takeoff for the SOE. So we will be moving Ajax on Monday morning to the Riedel building. And as soon as that's done, I'm hoping to start seeing material delivered over the next week. And we'll start demo on Tuesday, the internal demolition that's got to be done at the Alderman building. So we'll start seeing that project move forward pretty quickly. So main lead time for us is going to be the doors. The doors are going to be a little bit of a longer lead time, but we've got that on a few other projects. So other than that, if you've got questions on any projects or anything that you've got a thought on or a question on, I'd be happy to answer.
Kind of give us a rundown on the dozen you have, of just to highlight, mention them. So
if you there's a lot of stuff in the works. So that's the main thing. So of course, we've got Douglas Brown restrooms right now that went out for bid. It came back. We are now looking at either trying to negotiate with a contractor or looking at a different avenue. That contract or that bid came in extremely high. We've got the Douglas Brown basketball court renovation that's going out for bid right now. We've got the maintenance building at the cemetery, which would be the maintenance and restroom improvements. So we're trying to get the maintenance building done this year, build up a little more revenue so that we can do the restroom renovation and had an ADA compliant restroom out to Evergreen Cemetery. We've got a significant amount of projects that are just starting to develop. We've got one that I'm working through the design on right now for the building department for some increase in space in that area so that they can be compliant with their needs. We're starting to design on that, I'm doing the drafting myself in Rollo, teaching Rollo how to do the design stuff. So we're working on those projects also. We've got the chiller replacements that y'all approved in the last board meeting. That's a pretty significant project coming through. We've got a chiller design project. We hopefully will have a meeting next week to complete that design. We've got some VE items. That project came in a little bit higher than what I was expecting. We're trying to finish that one up so that we can get that thing moving forward and try to figure out how we're going to mobilize the Department of Health project. That's going to be a very, very large project. Working with the school board on finishing up the large animal space, working with FP&L to get the power to that location, and we've just about got that wrapped up with the school board's part, so it's mainly what we've got missing. We got the new well put in, and we're hoping to see power to that location in the next couple days, or next couple weeks. Other than that, airport, of course, parking lot, we're about to asphalt. 2 weeks from now or less, we should see asphalt on phase 1. We'll start breaking ground on phase 2 and start working through phase 3, and then we've got the security improvements there also that should be moving forward pretty quickly. So a lot of stuff going on, and there's still probably a lot more that I'm not even thinking about that we're in the middle of. But I said if there's any questions on any of them, or if you've got anything you need, don't hesitate to let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I had some people ask me a few minutes ago that all of the bad words that were spewed out there were about them causing fires, so I hope you have something to address that.
So yes, sir, we got several things from the Public Safety Department today. The first thing I want to bring to y'all's attention is the implementation of a burn ban at the conclusion of the meeting. Okeechobee County Fire Rescue responded to about 36 wildfires since January 1st. We've been talking to our partners at Florida Forest Service. There's 19 other counties around the state of Florida that currently have burn bans. So we're looking at putting that burn ban in place after today's meeting. Been working with the PIO. He's got a news release ready for us and some graphics to put out there, everybody, but we'll be implementing that at the end of the meeting today. Is there any questions on that from anybody?
It didn't take you long to respond to that one.
No, sir.
Everybody okay with the burn ban?
Yep. I think it's probably necessary. I ride up and down the roads and I'm scared to death.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking the lead in that.
Yes, sir. Just want to be proactive instead of reactive, and as soon as we get some weather change, we'll definitely rescind that as soon as possible. A few other items that we have as well. Let me get back to other pages. The new fire engine final inspection was completed April 15th, and the vendor's preparing for delivery of that engine, so we'll be having a new fire engine here soon. We'll be looking forward to once it gets done at Fleet, we'll look at doing a push-in ceremony like we did with the previous fire apparatus. We'll get with the administrator and schedule that for a board meeting in the future. Fire Rescue continues to work with the budget and special projects managers through the reimbursement process for the opioid ambulance and the associated equipment. We've got all those invoices submitted, and we're getting a pretty fast turnaround, so we're working with finance to confirm we're getting all that money back into Okeechobee from the opioid money. Tomorrow night, I know we got some conflicted schedules, but tomorrow night from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is the family night for the high school fire CT class at the fire tower. Tomorrow night, the kids will be there showcasing the things that they've learned throughout the year, putting on a little demonstration for their families and everybody else. There'll be some awards for the kids as well, and we're really excited that we're going to be offering a tentative job offer to a past CT student tomorrow night at that presentation tomorrow night.
Chief, that it's scheduled from 5 till 7, and like you said, there are a couple other conflicts,
Yes,
but
sir.
could I drop in for the first hour of it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's going to start at 5. It's going to be a few words from the Education Foundation, I believe, myself, probably the lead instructor, one of our Lieutenant Morgan. He's going to be speaking there as well. We're going to start off with the kids doing the Modified Combat Challenge and doing a scenario. There's going to be a little food opportunity and then some awards, so it's kind of going to go for a couple hours. But yes, sir, absolutely. Please stop by if you have time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I saw on a video where you have a new mechanism for helping kids learn about fires
Fire
and how to
safety.
call in and all that. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So through the budget process last year, the board graciously approved some things for our Fire Prevention Bureau. So we have purchased what we call the Fire Safety House. It's a big blow-up thing. It's, I don't know, probably 20 by 40 or something like that. It's very interactive. The kids can go inside, and there's different fire safety things in there where they can ask a question, and it says a false answer, a true answer. There's a place for them to kind of crawl low in the smoke, so we're getting that thing set up, getting ready to start taking that out to the different events that we have. We've already talked to Miss Whitehead from Parks and Rec. She's already wanting it on her schedule for some of the summer camps, so we're going to get that thing out. In addition, we'll also have a bounce house coming in as well. That's on order, so we'll have 2 new things will be out in the community showing about fire prevention and having a little fun at the same time. So, yes, sir, thank you.
We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was another nice thing with our new PIO. He's helping us with getting those things out there. So we set up there and said, hey, can you come by and do a quick video? He's like, absolutely. So we put the fire marshal on the spot and had him kind of talk about it. So, but yes, sir.
He did a good job.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Additionally, I brought it up at the last meeting, but we sent a response to our lobbyists with the required information from the Governor's Office of Policy and Budget pertaining to the Fire Rescue Station number 5 legislation appropriation funding request. That's all been sent back to Ms. Connie, and it's been submitted back to the state. Ms. Manzi reviewed everything that we put in there, and she was happy with it, so we went and sent it back. So hopefully that's all still moving forward. The next thing is we talked about the Indian River State College and Okie 1 site. We're real happy to be partnering and continuing the work with the St. Lucie County Firefighter Benevolent Association on the Treasure Coast hands-on training conference that's happening on May 16th and 17th at that property. The conference is sold out, and firefighters will travel from across Florida and other states to participate. And additionally, our firefighters will be participating in that training conference as well. The last thing is the EM director, Ms. Kozak. She started this week, and she's doing a phenomenal job. So we'll get her out and about in the community and at meetings when need be, but everything's going well over there. You have any questions, Public Safety Department?
Thank you, Chief.
Chairman.
While we're on the fire report, Ms. Deb, we need to think about getting Glades County to have another joint meeting that we had before with the Glades County Commissioner and Administrator and the Fire Chief, along with our Fire Chief and you and myself, because they have buildings going up on a new project in Glades County, and they're going to need some kind of fire protection, and we probably need to have a meeting and encourage them to let us know what our plans are.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Sir,
you.
we'll take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Abraham.
Nothing from me at this time, sir.
He's awful quiet, isn't he? You don't ever know what the quiet people are thinking.
He's sneaky.
Mr. Royce, you have anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Miss Denise.
I don't have a whole heck of a lot, but I wanted to give a shout out to the library and Parks and Rec for their Easter event a couple of weeks ago. It was both events were quite widely attended, and staff did a really phenomenal job. And then just a huge shout out to Jarrett as well, our new PIO, who has really been stepping up and putting a lot of content out on our social media. All the departments are now lining up to try and get him to come and do some work for them. So,
thank you, ma'am. Okay. Mr. Engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Morning, sir.
Commissioners. Quick update from DOT. We have some work going to be done on 441 at the railroad crossing. CXX is going to be doing some signal repairs, some bores under the road, and removing some curbing in the median to make it a safer intersection. State Road 70 east of 441 is wrapping up quickly. Additionally, we have now scheduled our next annual meeting with the DOT. They will be coming in on the 7th of May at 1:30. If you have any topics that you would like us to bring up, think about it. You can send it to Ms. Manzo, and I'll make sure I get it on the agenda. Going into our CIP, a quick update. Lofton Road, 100% plans were received and submitted to DOT for their final review so that we can put the project out to bid. I anticipate that'll take another, I'd say, 30 to 45 days to get through. So we are on target with bidding the project this summer. Bridge repairs, the permits from South Florida Water Management District are all now coming in. So we are going to be, in the next 30 to 45 days, 100% ready, plans on the shelf for construction. The bridge repairs. The sports complex entry road, quick update. The DOT application for the signal mods has been submitted. We anticipate all permits will be in hand very shortly. So once we determine funding for that, we'll be able to go out to bid for that. Stormwater master plan update. The draft final report was received by staff and is currently under review. Berman Road and Nubbin Slough drainage. We continue to make progress with property owners, and we're wrapping up the survey environmental and moving on towards the actual design. That is my quick update for the CIP projects, and once again, any questions you may have.
I know we're going to have a pothole question.
You lost me.
Sir?
My brain was in a different spot.
I knew you were going to ask about the pothole that tore up Miss Ruby's car, the one on 70.
I think that now I drove through it this morning, and it didn't jar my teeth, so I think maybe it's been fixed, or maybe it is done correctly.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like I say, I drove it this morning. I was like, let me see.
I think most of those have been taken care of. There's still some stuff on the bridge that they've got to fix. But I think the most of the potholes have been, or I shouldn't say potholes, but most of those drainage structures have been repaired to where that they're not so rough. So there was a few of them. It wasn't just the one in front of Taco Bell. I just happened to be the
That's
one
the one that my wife hit.
just
so.
where it lines up in the wheel pattern. That one's the bad one. But
Yep.
Chief just said he was pretty positive that it did get repaired.
Yeah, last Saturday I seen quite a few of them out there. They had traffic all backed up on Saturday down the one lane, and they were out there taking care of it.
We'll blame that on Jessica.
Okay.
She's not here. So.
All right. Any more questions, comments? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Okay. Mr. Attorney, I think you said you didn't have anything else already?
I do not have any other comments. Thanks, sir.
Did you have a question, Commissioner Gabay?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
I was just waiting for you.
Oh, Commissioner Sumner.
Okay, first off, Thomas, don't let me get out of here without having you help me with something on this computer.
Poor Thomas, we're all handicapped when it comes to
Very much
technology.
so. I've tried and I've failed, but I felt like you might can do it.
He doesn't have all day.
I brought this up a couple of weeks ago or several meetings ago, noise ordinance. We still have that same situation down the road from my house. I got called by every neighbor. Loud music, loud horn, bullhorn, ostensibly a Mexican rodeo, but really more of a drag race party, bottles out on the streets the next morning. Is there anything, I don't know if this is an attorney question or an us question, I know we don't have any noise ordinances, and this particular piece of property is in ag zoning. So I understand that, a livestock market is loud. Cow pens can be loud. But human-driven noise, for the sake of noise, is there anything that can be done from our end, or it just is what it is?
They'd have to have some kind of a permit or special exception to do the rodeo.
We can draft a noise ordinance.
No, we have something in place because we've addressed that one before.
Well, but even if they have a permit, and in this case, I don't know if they did.
But
Jackie Bass,
you can control it if you have a permit. You can put limitations in there.
Close to a
I
residence.
thought we,
And Commissioner Burrows, remember when the Filipino Center, when we had a problem there, we did something to control that.
Yeah.
We have something in place. We just got to figure out.
Yeah, so you all do have within your code the temporary uses which would govern a special event like a rodeo. If you all want to have permanent restrictions on noise levels, we can also address that, which would provide kind of a day-to-day one-off situation where you have a neighbor who maybe doesn't have a special event permit but is just being disruptive.
well, do they only require a special event permit if they're charging, correct? In other words, I could go have a
Not necess-
pasture party and invite all y'all, and if I'm not charging, I don't need a permit.
I don't think that's the criteria.
Yeah, it kind of is. You got some of these things are sort of gray area borderline, but if sometimes people just have a big loud party and it's just they're celebrating somebody's graduation or birthday or something. If they're charging admission, then we're seeing that as more of a commercial event that does require some type of temporary use permit, because we also want to look into traffic, parking, law enforcement, whatever needs to be there. But if it's just, and we have, I don't know where you live, so I don't know where the rodeo was.
Four Seasons on the 80th Avenue side at Center Street, and it was actually the property behind Jackie and Joel Bass's house.
Okay, yeah, that guy has a rodeo every few months, I think.
Correct. And this time, Jackie apparently called the sheriff's department, and they informed her that, yes, there was a permit. I have no idea if there was or not, but that was third-hand information passed along to me. So if there was a permit, what kind of regulations or marching orders are they given? I mean, the music was ripping at 3 o'clock in the morning, and literally, if I could speak Spanish, I could have heard every word they were saying through the bullhorn, and I'm a mile and a half as the crow flies inside a house with closed windows.
This is the first complaint I've gotten on that guy. Yeah, we would put limits in more or less the times, because it's like in the afternoon, so we would probably have a time to stop it by like 8 or 9 o'clock. This is not meant to be an all-night party.
Well, it has been in times past.
Then
So
when we
I
put
don't
some
know if
time
that's,
limits, then it gives the sheriff's deputies a little bit stronger case to do something about it.
We've issued a permit there?
it would have been the last Saturday night, the night before Easter.
We have issued permits there. I'm not sure when the last permit was that I was aware of. I didn't think he'd actually been doing it for a while now. I'll check and see.
There was one right after Christmas because I was actually in Georgia when the neighbors called that time, and I wasn't there to hear it. This time I was there to hear it. I finally managed around midnight to drown it out enough in my head that I fell asleep. So I don't know exactly how long it went on, but I know it went on at least till midnight.
Okay, again, I
We've
don't
been
think
given permits
there's
for that.
this permit, this last one, but I'll check and we'll get in touch with them.
Okay, and if there's just any way that something, I mean, I don't want to be the bad neighbor guy, but at the same time, you've got a whole neighborhood laying there going, good God, I wish this would stop.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, I appreciate that. My next thing, I get an awful lot of calls about traffic on Berman Road. We all received an email this morning from, I guess it's Marcia. I too use that road quite a bit. I don't know if it's a matter of policing it better or some traffic signals. You see people on both ends of it, especially the trucks, virtually running that stop sign. If they think they've got a little bit of a gap, they go ahead and go, and other traffic be damned. You literally hear screeching of people hitting their brakes on a daily basis. I don't know what can be done about that. I had a request actually back when I was running, and the same gentleman brought it up to me again this week. Signals of any kind, like on the south end coming on to 710, what does it take for us to put in one of those flashing stop sign ahead kind of?
Already have a flashing stop sign.
There's not one at that end. There's one up at the other end.
Supposed to be one at both ends.
I don't believe that there's one on that south end. If you're southbound on
I
Berman
requested
Road.
it, I don't know, but 4 or 5 years ago.
On the stop sign, I thought. On
Right, it's
on the
flashing red.
north end,
Right, but no, before you
Like
get to the
crossroads.
stop sign, so it's not just a, oh crap, stop sign back a couple of
It's
hundred
got rumble
yards.
strips too. Right?
I'm just asking.
on the north end, the DOT is doing a study for a traffic light. We probably, we've only had 5 or 6 killed there, so it's probably not enough
Well,
yet.
and that's the thing,
But they are doing a study.
but that's on the north end.
Yes.
What about down there at 710 where all those 5-acre type subdivisions come and go out of it?
Chair, if I could, I'll work with the county engineer, and if we don't already have that approved, I'll work with him to go ahead and make sure we can get a flashing sign down there. That should not be an issue.
Yeah, just something. I mean, some of it is ignorance, people driving, not paying attention. Some of the truck traffic, I swear, is intent. They just literally aren't paying attention. And I don't know if that's something that the sheriff's department could sit a deputy there full time and write their weight-in tickets to get it curbed. But as it stands right now, it's just a damn dangerous road. So.
We'll see what we can do with Steph, and we'll get that. That shouldn't be an issue at all to get that taken care of.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Well,
and that's pretty much all I've got. Look forward to dropping in on the Chiefs program tomorrow night. Let everybody in the public know tonight there is an art exhibit downstairs of this building. Some local artists. Should be a good time. I believe that starts at 5 and runs till 6:30. So everybody can turn out for that. That should be a good time. And hope everybody had a good Easter, and that's about what I've got.
Okay.
Just one second. Steph, would you, when you're talking to the DOT, confirm that they're working on the study? Because the engineers sent word to me that they were doing that. I was surprised, but they said they were doing it. So, because it's going to take a traffic light there to be able to, because what it is.
And if that's the case, if it'll save lives, so be it.
Commissioner Goodbrave.
Oh, again, hope everybody had a great Easter. I want to issue a blanket apology for all the nasty talk and everything to Justin's family. Dr. Nelson and his two daughters. It's horrible that they had to experience that. And then the other people that watch our meetings online, it's not productive. It's absolutely not polite. It's really not necessary. So my apologies to everybody that had to endure that mess. And next, like to, from what I understand, Justin's, one of his employees is leaving, Tiffany Gould. I'd like to wish her well in her new ventures and her new endeavors.
Thank you. I'll definitely pass that on. We're sad to see her go.
I hate to see her. She's so good at what she does.
Yes, sir.
I wrote down a couple things. I wanted to say something first. Jared Romanello that we hired, I think is doing a great job. Every time I get on social media a little, I see something pop up about Okeechobee and something that's being built or something they've accomplished, or just somebody to giving a testimony about their job or the position they hold wherever they are. And I think that's pretty cool for a change, some positive. I was going to mention that Hoppy Campbell and Brad Farish were the artists down there that are probably being honest. A lot of their prints are downstairs. When you leave here, you can go by, take a look at that right in the lobby. I think that's pretty cool to recognize those two. And our high school baseball team won the regionals, and they're on their way to the next level. They lost last night, and I think they got another game tonight. I should have asked. My wife keeps up with tonight. Yeah, another game here. So here or tomorrow night, Justin, do you know? Tonight? Okay. Yeah. So my stepson's one of the coaches there, Eric Kendall and Brian Morgan. But it was a great game the other night when they won the regionals. These kids were so excited and had fireworks. It was just great.
More fireworks. We've got.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Commissioner Burrows.
You want the good news or the bad news?
Yep. Give us bad news
No
first.
bad news.
Okay. The bad news is the House is crazy. They have just went off the rails. So let's just let me address the fire chief's piece. They have a misappropriation. The fire is in the House budget, but it's not. Fire is not in the House budget, but it is in the Senate budget. So there's a mismatch, and they've got until next week to figure that out. So just to make sure, whatever Connie and them, I'm going to work on it this afternoon, and that's just call and tuck to see whether we can get these lined up or not. But the way the House is working right now, we may be able just to substitute the special needs shelter for the fire if that's what the board wants to do, because the special needs and the fire is in the Senate budget, but the fire is not in the House budget. So just keep that in mind. This afternoon, I should see when it's this afternoon or tomorrow. Let me just take a real quick look. You have something in your email.
Yep.
That is on Friday. This House Bill 1221, what it does is it does away with the TDC board as of December 31st, 2025. It will take any dollars that are associated with TDC. You will take that amount of dollars and apply it to your ad valorem tax and reduce your ad valorem millage rate by that amount, and start trying to offset some of this. And so this is some of the craziest stuff that we're going through.
I'm done.
Well, you've been done a long time ago, but this just helps you out.
Done officially.
But no, seriously, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg of some of this stuff. I mean, the Senate Bill 1664 is it's been sent to the House, and they still got some issues to figure out. But the House bill is these guys they're focused on trying to reduce the property tax, and I sent this yesterday. I continue to hear the governor talk about when you buy your house and you paid your mortgage off, and you're still having to rent the property because you pay property tax, and that is totally erroneous. You pay property taxes for the services that you utilize in your community. Until the governor can quit this rhetoric, we're going to have a real serious problem. And then the governor and the House Speaker aren't getting along either, so it's just been pretty interesting.
Well, tell them when you pay your car off, you still have to buy a tag every year.
Yeah, well.
And gas.
So the term limits bill, I will say that there's no more committees in the Senate. Senate hasn't heard it but one time. House passed it last year or last week with a little bit of heavy-handedness from the Speaker of the House, but it'll probably end up dying. That's what we think. As I told some folks this morning, the best possible outcome this year on some of this is that there is no agreement on both the Senate and the House, and all bills will die. That's the best possible outcome. And then we can start this mess all over next year. But that's the best possible outcome. But FAC wants folks to reach out to their House representative today, and it's in your emails, an action alert. Take a look at it. Reach out to Tuck, make sure she understands what your position is. I will say this, Representative Tuck and Representative Topolsky last week were stars on the term limits issue. They focused on, they did not want term limits. And I had a full number of complement of Republicans and Democrats that were voting down on term limits the way it was. So even though the Speaker of the House got involved in it and everybody had to change their vote at the last moment, it's still probably going to die over in the Senate. So I'm not too worried about that right now. We'll see what happens. Sovereign immunity is probably just going to die a slow death. So I think we're pretty decent with that so far. There is one that's concerning me, and it's I talked to the chief yesterday, day before yesterday, and I talked to the administrator. There's a bill that sits out there for firefighters' health and safety. And a portion of that bill is the recommendation to go from a 56-hour week to a 42-hour week. That has significant cost for rural counties or small counties, mid-sized counties. I know that when I talked to the chief the other day, there's a large number of counties that have went to this, but a large number of those counties are large counties that have significant revenue that can afford this. So I've asked the chief and the administrator to give me some numbers. I saw them this morning or late last night or whatever it was, so I haven't got to them yet. But I can assure you that it's going to cost some money. The other piece of this too is that the House wants to reduce the sales tax from 6% down to 5.25 and an assortment of other taxes. So I was told the administrator of the day, and this message is for us as much as the constitutionals, I would certainly hope that you start thinking about coming in with your budgets flat this year, because we don't know what's going to happen with this whole issue of property taxes. So everybody needs to start thinking about how we come in here with our budgets flat. And if something doesn't happen, then you can go. We can readjust accordingly. But don't come in with asking for a bunch of things, because it may or may not happen. As you just saw with the TDC piece of it, that is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's amazing.
Well, if you'd had the opportunity to listen to the debate, you would understand why it's very frustrating, because they don't really understand what you do. They don't understand what TDC do. They don't have a clue. Some of them may do, but some of them don't. And they pass these bills like they just pass them because they think it's the right thing to do, I believe.
Well, the hoteliers collect that so it can regenerate overnight stays.
We know that.
You're preaching to the choir, and there was a lot of people who got up and testified against it. But one thing over the years I've learned about testifying up there, they've already made their mind up before you testify. And that's my perception. And I think a lot of people see that same thing because they've already made their minds up. So the best way you do it is go up there and meet with them individually like we did on term limits, and you find out there's a different way to get your points across. So just think about those things I just talked to you about. Those are going to be some costly opportunities for us. So the good news, and I will say this is good news, as of last night, out in Lazy 7, people got hooked up on fiber optics to their home. It costs you $66 a month for 5 years, no contract, $200 Visa card. And I believe you can hook up your cell service via whatever cell service Comcast provides. And they're out in R-Bar Estates putting things together last night, too. So you have broadband being implemented in Okeechobee County for the unserved areas right now. So that's the positive piece of it. I yield the floor.
And the other bill that's out there right now is the break. It looks like they're going to do away with the requirements to be a appraiser, or engineer.
I missed that one
Yeah,
completely.
yeah. So anyhow, now you can be a broker and I can be an appraiser. So
They can't possibly get rid of those requirements.
well, they're working on it.
Well, they can do anything they
Talk to
want.
Jeff. Wow. It's crazy what they're going to do.
You know what bill that is?
Yeah, I can
You
be an
know
appraiser
what
now.
bill that is?
Hey, there you go.
I don't know, but I know that it's
I was one
it's
for
the
a long
talk of the
time.
real estate industry right now. You know, so but anyhow,
Interesting.
I want to talk about our situation a little bit. This board has worked together so well and accomplished so much. And right now we have a cancer eating this community. Every conversation, I don't care if it's Easter lunch or whatever, at some point revolves around what's been happening in our chambers. You know, I don't know how we're going to stop it. We're going to figure out a way. I know how we would have used to have stopped it. And there's plenty of people that want to do that. And I ask them not to. So, but we can't lose the sight of our focus that we've all worked together and continue to do that. You know, there's a lot of people says it's our fault. A lot of people says it's other people's fault. Everybody's got a different opinion on it. And I'm disappointed that they just want to point fingers. That doesn't solve it. You know, we've got to figure out a way to work it out and bring this community back together, because we have to work with all our constitutionals. They have to work with us. I mean, you know, they provide service over here. What Thomas and his crew do that. You know, they provide security. Mickey does so many things, and it's all got to gel for us Okeechobee to be successful. So please, let's don't lose the sight of this is Okeechobee. We all love each other. We work together and continue to do that.
Oh, I got one little thing I forgot. I wanted to congratulate my brother, Keith Goodbread. He bought Joey's Pizza last week. So
I don't know. That's
I'd like to-
congratulations.
Well, he wanted it, so, but just wanted to congratulate him that he got that done last week.
We're adjourned.